Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Hayes, great feed to Achari. Couldn't tuck it in. Great hands by Achari to get Talbot sprawled out there. Hayes scores! Welcome to Pittsburgh, Kevin Hayes.
The Blues forced overtime here tonight. Now Braden Shen weaving through center. And over the line, Mariko joins. Score! Shen wins it and caps the comeback for St. Louis.
The set, the 2-2 delivery. Swung on, hit a ton, deep left, green, back, track, wall, gone! David Fry! Off the bench, a 2-strike, 2-out, 2-run home run. And Cleveland's back on top for the third time tonight, 4-3.
In the air to center field. Judge has it lined up, and the Yankees are on their way to the LCS. The Royals gave them a good battle. All 4 games were close. But the Yankees, who didn't make the postseason last year, a rarity, now advance to the LCS.
Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. What's up, DB?
What's up, buddy?
How you feeling this morning?
I'm good.
Game day?
Yeah, it is. It's a very intense. It's a very,
It's a big one.
Oh, for sure.
Elk South?
We like these, and we've been in a handful of them, and
Yes, you have.
we'll see what happens.
Just a couple.
Yeah, it was a. I'm excited because, I mean, this is our own 2024 version, right? It's not last year's West Side or the year before that, or the year, but it's not a, right? This is their own and their own epic. So,
Get a chance to do your own story this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And right now they're their own authors. So, it's not often. I mean, we had a really good. We were dialed, but we had 2 really good talks.
Yeah.
Like Dr. Whitman came in, and he works a lot with Creighton in Nebraska.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was pretty powerful. And then yesterday, Dr. Lucas talked. It's not often your superintendent addresses your football team.
Right. Can I ask kind of a weird question?
Yeah.
So we were talking about 96 Nebraska yesterday.
Yeah. The team that lost in the Big 12 Championship,
Yep.
96? Okay. I get them all confused. I don't know if you meant the 97
No.
team that won. Okay.
Yeah, no. The 96 lost in the Big 12 Championship, the
Yeah.
Texas game, that
Yeah.
whole deal, right?
Yep.
Arizona State, Texas, that whole year.
Yeah.
Am I crazy, or it would have been really easy to have like some 96 Nebraska vibes on your West Side team this year?
Yeah. A little bit.
Like a bunch of guys
breaking in a young quarterback.
and a
got a
bunch of
chance
guys
to be
that were
good.
around champions but weren't necessarily part of it
Yep.
in the same way.
Yep.
So it'd be really easy for them to feel like they've earned something they maybe haven't yet.
Yeah, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have 9 first-year starters on our defense.
Yeah, that's almost everybody.
Yeah.
It's everybody except for what? Christian Jones.
Yeah.
And
Johnny Hurtado.
there you go. So that's almost everybody off a really good defense.
Entirely new D-line.
You've got
new
quarterback.
Yeah. And we moved Christian.
Yeah. So you got at
he's-
least
he's-
10 guys in new
Yeah,
places.
he's playing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got some vibes. But anyway, enough about us. I love the message because it was about our core, right?
Mhm.
Of being tight knit, family, representing the dynamics in the district,
Mhm.
and how like our camaraderie, like how hard we do things,
Mhm.
is like our superpower.
Yeah.
And he vibes. So we have a soup that is in tune with our 3 pillars, right? Faith, family. It's just
Well, that kind of goes to Coach Rule talks about that all the time too, right? Like, hey,
the unified front.
well, the doing hard things, like be great at doing hard things.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Because that is a superpower.
And we do have a coach, 2-time cancer guy, has not always had it easy.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Youngstown guy, tough guy.
Yeah.
It just it fits.
Yeah.
It fits. It fits. And so.
Well, you got a good one tonight. That's exciting.
Yeah, we are bracing for a storm.
You guys dialed?
Yeah.
You feel good?
Yeah, it's like I'll tell these guys. You know, I've done this thing over the years throughout the course of me doing social media. So basically from 213 on,
mm-hmm.
where I will send weekly texts.
Yeah.
You know, like tweets, game, and our guys. This was kind of a new team and a new deal, so this is the first week that I'll actually do it. And they've been wanting it and wanting it and wanting, Coach, man, you know, you usually have some, you know, message and
gotta earn it.
We had to earn it though.
Gotta earn it.
Yeah, but we were this is gonna be a tough stretch. You know, as we go.
Oh, so your last 3 are rough.
Yes, they are. Yes,
you go Elks out this week.
Yeah, then prep.
Then prep, which is the big. I mean, for you guys,
and it's a Thursday short week turnaround.
Yeah,
and then we go Papio.
Yeah, and Papio's good.
Oh yeah,
Papio's good. We talked to Coach Williams.
Yeah, you heard it.
I like Coach Williams.
Yeah,
yeah.
They had Millard South 24-14 at the half.
And it was it was 21-14.
21-14. Yeah,
right
and so we watched. Well, I should say I. They had a moment in that game where I thought could have been interesting. It's 28-14,
mm-hmm.
and Pamaran, they had a player that got a personal foul. It's a 4th and 2, and I'm thinking, I wonder what would have happened if they would have probably. I mean, maybe it was prolonging the inevitable. I don't know.
You never know though,
but
because there's inflection points like that in games.
Yeah, and you got the unsportsmanlike, and you know it's just hard to keep.
Yeah,
it's just hard to bottle,
especially when
it's hard to keep Millard South down.
I'll say, especially when like you're facing somebody that's got more overall talent.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, and I've talked
and that's
to,
not being disrespectful. They just do.
There's 1, 2. So there's 4 coaches that I've talked to that have played them,
mm-hmm.
and they all say the same thing. It's their depth.
Yeah, it's just the waves.
They just come at you in waves.
Yeah.
So I mean,
like you can hang with them for a half. You can hang with them for maybe a little bit longer.
Minutes.
But that's
they come out in.
I mean, do you want to do Millard South here or San Francisco? Because you stay on Millard South.
Oh, I'm good with either. I think I can speak to this better than most.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring it up, right? Because normally I wouldn't necessarily bring up a 63-0 win on a Thursday night, but the Millard South game got a little weird last night.
Yeah, and we were watching it on stream. So, I mean, I'm one of the guys that. Well, 2 of our coaches, like we said, hey, you know what's going on? The stream quit.
Yeah,
because we weren't privy to what's going on.
Oh yeah, I got live on the sidelines
real time.
Whatever.
So then I text a couple of other people that are working. I'm like, hey, you guys checking this out?
Mm-hmm.
And then as social media, which is usually where it breaks first.
Yeah.
Because there's one of the parents from there that follows me that tweeted something out, and I was like. Okay.
So if you're not privy to the situation, Lincoln High forfeit, is that the correct word?
Yeah.
I'm not trying. Yeah, they forfeited at half against Millard South, down 63-0.
63-0.
Yeah.
And I think at that time, I think AJ he returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you can do about that. He ran a punt back late.
Yep.
Made it 42. But then he had a pick 6 and a scoop score.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to give the impression that Millard South offensively was just piling it on.
Sure, because that's different.
Yeah,
it is. It's a different thing.
And now I'm not getting into the however guys were acting on the field. I'm not speaking to that. I'm saying like if you're just
talking 4 touchdowns
the
there.
construct of the game, like those are things you can't really.
Yeah,
I guess because I don't know.
You want a fair catch?
Yeah, you're not going to. No, we've done that.
Sure,
but it just depends. Like I'm not going to legislate that.
Yeah,
I'm not.
I'm not going to expect that.
It's not my. It's not my program. But I've been on the receiving end. Listen, I work for a guy,
mm-hmm.
And this bugged me, and I called him, and I talked to his OC, who's my very, 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 very good friend,
mm-hmm.
and Dan Jackson. They hung 77 on me at at Northwest.
Yeah.
And I felt like Coach O'Neill threw one on us late. Now, it was kind of a close game for Northwest.
Mm-hmm.
There's probably 28-7 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We played tough in the first half. Like, I felt like we had a good game plan. He threw one late on me late in the third quarter.
Mm-hmm.
You know, his receivers hadn't really had a touch because you don't want to tell those guys to stop playing either.
Yeah. And
I remember vividly at the end of both those games, and forgive me if I get a little emotional, because I'm going to try not to, because I'm in the solutions business. But I remember vividly talking to those guys. You know, the first time when they scored 77, I scooted up 27 kids.
Mm-hmm.
I think against North we had 31.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of knew going in, and I didn't expect my friends
to take it easy,
sure. Right? Because they have kids too,
mm-hmm.
and they want to play, and their job is to get better. And so I understood that, but I remember vividly telling our guys that and it's hard because you had to repeat it all the time. Like, this is kind of part of it, because in the 3 years I felt like we only had 2 winnable games.
Mm-hmm. But
we went to overtime with Lincoln High. We lost on a row without our top 2 quarterbacks. Nick Lundeen was hurt, and the guy, R.I.P. Nigel Phillips, who's passed away since. By the way, lost 3 guys off that team that are no longer living.
Jeez.
But anyway, I say all that to say I felt like we could have won that game.
Mm-hmm.
And Brian. And Brian scored late. I think they beat us 10-2
mm-hmm.
or 17-2. They scored late. They had played these 2 quarterbacks, and he housed one like 90 yards late on a scramble. And in the 3 years, I felt like those were the 2. Benson everybody was better than us.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just remember the message was, you know, stay close. But this is part of it. This is kind of how life's going to be, because that's back when we were still doing life lessons. And I remember going through a divorce at the time. Like, my emotions were kind of running high, right?
Mm-hmm.
My social life was a mess. You know, his first time coach, kind of did the pretend thing where I wanted to renew. So I went as far as we renewed our vows
mm-hmm.
in front of our team in this renovated place that we did for a meeting room. It was a portable.
Mm-hmm.
And so Denny, DP,
yeah. So
our church, the church group, led this deal where we did a field cleanup and we mowed the whole hill, and they transformed the mobile home, and we did plexiglass for dry erase boards. He installed them.
Yeah.
In the mobile home.
Yeah.
Right. Just to kind of give us
the portable classroom deals.
Yeah. My buddy Jeff Banghart, he got this bus donated so we could travel, because I had to pick up kids all the time, and the van had 170 miles.
Yeah.
Now turns around, the district said we couldn't have it. The district said we couldn't have it.
Yep.
So actually donated it to Bridge Church. Anyway, I say all that to say it's hard.
Yeah.
To go there, but I remember distinctly a conversation that I had with our assistant superintendent at the time.
Mm-hmm.
Rest his soul, good man, Tom Harvey. And I asked Harvey, and this was kind of the beginning of the end of how I just didn't know if I was cut out to be in administration,
mm-hmm.
because I have this role at the TAC building. I'm our Title I transition coordinator, and Title I is difficult enough alone. Title I comes with its own set of deals, and so I'm privy to district zoning and things like that, and where kids go to school, and the student assignment plan.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes, so I know where kids are coming. And keep in mind, I'm transitioning kids that are coming out of the Douglas County Youth Center.
Yeah.
So there's this community thing, and I know a lot of the kids that were coming out of the Douglas County Youth Center. I know a few strategic schools that they were being placed
mm-hmm.
because they weren't being accepted in other schools.
Sure.
And some of those schools are South, or Benson, Northwest. I looked at our demographics, and so I went to him about the student assignment plan, and I said, something's got to change about. Now, we went as far as to hand out flyers in our neighborhood.
Mm-hmm.
We walked. We put the kids, the 30 of us. We made flyers. We did a picnic out front at our school. These are things that people weren't doing yet.
Yeah.
But I felt like, okay, we could do this. And I told you I rolled the dice. Marriage was super shaky. I wanted the kids to see like a tight like a family knit unit. So I was like, hey, let's renew our vows. Let's try to restart this marriage. Let's do this with the kids.
Yeah,
it's gonna be a family. All of this, right? And I remember Tom was telling me, he said, well, how else do you promote DSEC? As in desegregation with the student assignment plan. I said, we're not DSEC now. We're not DSEC now. Our school does not look like our surrounding neighborhoods. Like, this is not right. So, of course, like I've been known to do from time to time when I'm passionate about something, and I feel I'm right.
Yeah.
Like, I took it to task. It kind of the beginning of the end of the playing nice because it was my job.
Sure.
Right? Because I just felt like structurally there were some things we could do, we just weren't willing to do. So I was very narrow-sighted because that was my reality.
Yeah. Because you were in it. Like
so I'm in it.
Knee deep.
I'm in it.
Yeah.
Right? And you're just getting our heads beat in.
Yeah.
And
I mean, you're shooting 25 guys in Class A. Like,
yeah,
that's tough.
Yeah, oh yeah. So, and hear my heart. I make no excuses about some of my shortcomings during that time, because emotionally I was extremely immature in some times, especially in terms of dealing with my staff. Okay, so I say all that to say I understand, and I know Mackey really, really well. Lincoln High's head coach. And so I clearly understand what he feels.
Yeah, the position he's in.
Right? So if he's at halftime and he's saying and he's looking at his team, because that's his first concern.
Those are his guys.
Right? Like,
that's the first thing I thought when you told me last night was, I bet he was worried about his team.
Yeah. And I know, I'm telling you.
Like, safety-wise.
Yeah.
More than anything.
Lincoln High played us in hoops last year. Or was it district? Yeah, it might have been districts. And like, I spent 15 minutes just talking to him.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and he's got a couple guys over there bowling and that I know in admin, and we were just talking about, numbers in school don't necessarily mean numbers in attendance. Grand Island's going through it. Well, big numbers in the school, but they're not playing. They're not playing. Yeah. I mean, South has big numbers in the school.
Nobody's playing. Yeah.
So, like, I understand when you're looking at your kids and you're like, you know what? This just isn't for them. And again, I'm not getting into how he felt his team was or wasn't being treated, because that part I don't know.
Yeah.
I just know what I can see on stream.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's being said. I don't know if it's being rubbed in, if it's not. So again, if somebody else is privy to that not my pig, not my farm, because I don't know about that.
Yeah, we're not privy to that right now.
So I think there's a couple of things you can do. You can, and now this is coming from somebody that is in an open, has open enrollment in their district, and I've had this conversation before, and coincidentally enough, this chatter started with the team that we play tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. The live here, play here, those T-shirts. I had a couple parents that had some strong things to say on social media. And it just took it to task, because we just felt like as a district, enough's enough. Like, let's take a look at our enrollment numbers. Let's take a look at opt-ins. If you want to know, let's really know so you can quit the narrative.
Yeah.
All right. A couple senators were on board with this. I had to call him and educate him too. And so there's a couple of things you can do. If you have open enrollment and you want the tax dollars to keep you from being smaller districts, then you accept open enrollment, because that comes with some fiscal opportunities.
Yeah, some benefits.
Okay. You can go to
which Westside by far not the only open enrollment school in Omaha, by the way.
Yeah,
I'm just for context.
No, I know.
That's not unusual.
And let's not act like so there's a couple things here. Let's not act like, even as parents or guardians, you want your kiddos, if possible, to have the opportunity to have the best opportunity.
Whatever they're doing.
Whatever they're doing.
Academics.
Whether that's band, debate, speech.
Yeah.
Being coached in basketball.
Sometimes it's sports.
Because what people like to say is, well, kids are only going to go to a handful of schools.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I used to say that because I remember when I got hired, I didn't want the job.
Mm-hmm.
Like Bob Dan and our good friend, hey, and Jerry Bartu, two guys that like, come on, man, like this is your alma mater. It was late.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't take the job until almost May.
Yeah.
So I think that bothered Coach Samanji a little bit because we're thick as thieves, and then all of a sudden, I'm taking a job that he knew I wasn't prepared for. And I remember Michigan Lance was mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, man, how could you not want this job? These opportunities don't present themselves. And I'm like, look, man, like, we're not ready.
Yeah.
Like, so I knew we were going to have to go through it. And, people said all kind of crazy things.
Well, especially when it's a hard job, you better be ready.
People said
better be ready.
Oh, this guy can't coach. And what does he think he knows about this and that? I'm like, hey, listen, man. Like, you just come hang out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, let's look at our breakfasts. Let's look at our after schools. Let's look at our attendance. Let's look at how many guys are out of study center.
Mm-hmm.
There's lots of things. So, but you can go to a different kind of competitive schedule.
Mm-hmm.
You can use multipliers. You can close the transfer window. We had two guys. And here's the funny story. And I'm not going to name names. And these parents can feel free to call in and let me know if I'm not telling the truth.
Okay.
There's a couple guys that are having really good seasons at other schools.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Their first option was to want to come to Westside.
Yeah.
Came to the school. Hey, what do I got to do? I keep receipts for DMs, right? Just in case.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I don't think this is going to be a good fit.
Sure.
Our district is very leery of the optics, which kind of made me mad at the time because one of the guys I would have really
would have entertained.
Yeah, even though I knew it was going to come with some things.
Sure.
Okay.
But you would have entertained it.
There's actually 3 because 2 of them wound up at the same school.
Yeah.
And so talked to I had a student services, Robert Aranda, talked to Dr. Lucas, talked to Tom Kirkman. They brought us in and sat us down and said, this is how we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Direct them to student services. Anything after that is out of your control. We're not going to get involved in this. We want to keep everything documented.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So 2 of the guys that ended up going to other schools, oh, we didn't feel the love. Oh, they didn't want us. Oh, we're going to go here, which is fine.
Yeah.
It's totally fine. And doesn't bother me, but don't be disingenuous. Okay. The neighborhood school thing is not really a thing unless you figure out a way to do tax-based revenue within said districts to go back into the school.
Mm-hmm.
Right? If you're over there going to school on 39th and Ames and your levies and your tax-based revenue that goes back into your school is at a 2.6 or a 2.7 versus some other place that's at a 4.0 or a 3.9 or whatever the levy is, and it's going back into the school, those schools are going to be
they're going to look different.
They're going to look different.
Yeah.
You're going to have different opportunities at their school.
Yeah.
So you can either keep those kids out of said school or try to manage the kids in the other school, but you can't have it both ways. So you can go to multipliers, you can go to a change in scheduling, or you can play a shortened schedule and play multiple teams multiple times.
We'll get back into this coming up next on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're here at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Coming up on the show today, we're going to talk to Cam Lenhart, the Bennington head football coach, at 7:45. At 8, we'll talk to our guy Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. At 9, we've got Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports and NEB Preps. At 9:45, we wrap up the week like we always do with our guy Matt Vrzal.
Like we always do at this time.
That's right.
In our YouTube stream, as we were talking about solving all the world's problems in high school, but really we're not. One of my guys brings up a point. He says, I've been saying that for years. He's talking to me about the demographics. Mm-hmm. He goes, demographics of these schools have changed. Some schools don't have enough boys that grow up playing football. School population alone does not work for classifying football.
Yeah,
it doesn't.
I know in some of those
it doesn't. So that's something. And let's not see. Remember, I told you I had a conversation for 45 minutes on my back deck this summer. Mm-hmm. We were talking about schools and freedom of movement. And
yeah,
well, the person I was talking to works at the NSAA. Mm-hmm. He knows clearly what's going on, right? They're working like crazy behind the scenes to try to enrich, and it's not even about competitive balance. Mm-hmm. Trying to enrich the athletic experience.
I would say it's about trying to make sure that it's a positive experience for the kids
Trying
participating.
to enrich the athletic experience. Competitive balance is not a thing
Yeah, because I don't think the NSAA cares if somebody wins 10 straight state championships or
because what people don't understand, and some do.
Yeah.
School choice means school choice.
Yeah.
It can't just be for charter schools
when we want it to be,
or private schools. Yeah. It can't just be for whatever it want to be, because you have to legislate that.
Also, let's not pretend like Omaha isn't super blessed with some of their public schools that are better than a lot of private schools other places.
Yeah, you literally have districts that understand bond issues that will keep bonds from happening, so their schools can stay a certain size.
Yeah, stay more competitive.
Like the game within the game is a real thing.
Yeah.
So, like it's just interesting how we pick and choose what we're mad at. And when it happens to somebody where it's been allowed to happen, then all of a sudden we're
up in arms.
There's this uproar.
Yeah.
But you don't want to tell your friends to stop doing what you're doing, because some of you guys run in these circles.
And some
of you guys run in these circles. And it's not like you're not telling anybody out loud. It's the conversations you guys have over beers or, wings and ginger ale or whatever. Like, come on, man. Like, it clearly starts at the top, and it's economics. It's economics. It's a lot.
It is a lot.
But I don't know how much we're prepared to handle, though, if we want to really have the conversation, though.
Well, that's the problem, right? Because this isn't a football conversation.
Yeah.
Like,
it's not.
Millard South beating Lincoln High 63-0 at halftime, and Lincoln High saying, hey, we're tapping out, right? We're done here. Which, I
don't have any problem.
I don't either. If that's what the coach thinks is what's best for his team.
I'm going to tell you, there were some times where I literally was like, and I was selfish, so I didn't do it.
I'll say, was there a time looking back you wish you would have?
Yeah, I was selfish, so I didn't do it. I thought about how it would make me look, because I'm not a quitter.
Yeah.
Even though kids are out there getting slaughtered.
But is that best for your kids?
Believe me, I'm telling you, between 2009 and the latter part of 12 was not only a room for growth, it was room for growth that stemmed from being at the bottom.
Yeah. That's usually where growth happens from.
It was incredible.
Let's get to a couple phone calls here. Out of breath, Brian. Let's talk about open enrollment a little bit. Brian, what's going on, man?
You guys are saying something near and dear to my heart, definitely this year. Because
I'm gonna tell the truth, B. I just am. Like I'm over the sidebar backdoor chatter and sometimes when you know where the bodies are buried, you can have these conversations. So I apologize if I apologize if.
No, I see what you guys just summed up. What I think the issue is, it is economics, because there's not enough revenue generated in certain areas of this city because of certain things. Don't want to get into that, but it's obvious. And the parents who may not have the ability, even though open enrollment is available, to go there, because you have to have interaction.
You still have to get your kids there too, right?
As transportation is still an issue, right?
And and kids are not perfect. Parents get calls and they have to show up to school. I'm not driving across town. I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I would love for there to be a solution economically to parts of town that needed to create that tax-based revenue. Okay, because I understand you need an economy, exchange, trade's going on in certain areas for that to happen. It's obvious in this city how it's structured, and I see what's going on. It's not ticked off and people just see it disappointed, because I believe there's good coaches all throughout the city, even at my school, but I can tell the difference in height, and I can tell who's out there recruiting, and I'm not really with all that, because I really don't like that. I know it's there to give people opportunity. I just wish those opportunities could be available closer and maybe more wide range for everybody, so there'll be more better experience enjoyed for all athletes throughout the city. Since you're worried so much about the athletes' experience, are we just worried about a few of the experiences at a few places, or are we worried about the whole thing? Because it looks like just a few places are benefiting.
Yeah, but B, so I think it is important to say, like, a lot of times parents and guardians look at athletics as a way to pay for secondary opportunities. So I think that's part. I I think that's the quiet part that people aren't willing to admit out loud when, we have all these arrows of righteousness
I'll admit
that we
it.
sling.
I'll admit it. I would love for my, because I didn't. I would love. That's why I pushed them in school and make sure they get A's. But I'm also from the old school and know you can break your leg at any time.
Yeah. I mean,
okay. I'm worried about the educational experiences as well at these schools because that will also increase. So
what if I can't afford what if I can't afford to buy a home in your district? Should I not be allowed to go to your school?
No, that's not. See, that's what you're. I'm not arguing that.
Okay.
I'm not arguing. I'm just saying.
And I don't think you are. I want people that think they have solutions between open and closed.
That's the alternative open enrollment. If I can't afford, and especially the way schools are funded in Omaha, right? Yeah. It is a local property tax issue.
People got to understand how it goes.
I can't afford a house in a nice part of town or a more expensive part of town. If you don't have an open enrollment, that means my kid doesn't get to go to a school that has more resources.
Yeah, maybe I want my kid to be able to take an iPad home.
Maybe I want my kid to be in an IB program.
I'm just saying, man.
A lot of this has nothing to do with sports. Like that's the problem is. We see,
it's just the easy part to see.
Yeah, it's the one that's in front of our face, right? Like Millard South.
I agree.
Millard South winning 63-0 is right in front of our face, whereas academic scores and debate teams and DECA and all that kind of stuff is all kind of back over here that we don't have a camera pointed at.
It's not like let's not sit here and act like Millard South's AD and their administration or Coach Wisdom for that matter is like chomping at the bit to have Lincoln High and Benson on the schedule.
Sure.
Like, that's not what they want.
Yeah.
Last night wasn't good for anybody. And I guarantee you Throne would say I guarantee he would say that. Yeah. I know what kind of person he is. He would say this isn't good for anyone. Now, that doesn't mean that he has a solution readily available. But I can
recognize the issue, though.
I can see it. So I'm telling you, man. I know,
you know what, though? I would say
if I
sum it all up, my thought, once again, under the equal sign under the equation at the bottom, I'm still going to say, again, everything comes back to us in society. So if we want more economic opportunities, as people individually will have to be motivated to increase those opportunities over time by preparing themselves for their areas to make those places more economically viable. So maybe those experiences for future students will be better. So, I get what you guys are getting at. It's the money coming in certain places,
and like it's different, and I appreciate the call, B. It's different, right? Papio was. I'm catching this second win, right? Because Coach Williams, I don't know if he'd call me a friend. Let's just say good associates, right? We have conversations.
You're friendly.
Yeah, the Keenan Cotton thing was a real issue, right? Oh, you can't listen, man. Number one, talk to the parents.
Yeah.
Right. Talk to both of Keenan's parents. See what their issues were, and then come back and have a conversation with the district about what happened. Because the assumptions made about kids and opportunity and being with friends, sometimes that starts. This is crazy. Sometimes it starts right in the home. Doesn't have anything to do with the high school.
I would say most of the time.
Doesn't have anything to do with high school.
But I want to tell you that I'm going to say this, and then we're going to get to Cam Lenhart from Bennington coming up next. If you want to talk about closed enrollment, you better be ready to talk about one city, one district.
100%.
Like if that's the conversation you want to have, you better be ready to have the other one. Hurrdat Sports coming up next.
We will be back. We'll be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. It's the Friday Coach's Corner.
This is a process that we're going through. And although we're looking for the winning edge, shortcuts aren't one of them.
Hello? This is what the greatest thing about sports is. You play to win the game.
Can you believe they called that play?
High formation, quick 141.
94. Fullback banana, hot right.
Brown left wide nasty, 16 lead pass.
Just what were those coaches thinking?
They are who we thought they were. When we let them off the hook.
On the Friday Coach's Corner.
Hey, the spot! He's up here, sir.
You misplaced the line of scrimmage, you bunch of dummies.
It's the Friday Coach's Corner.
Wrapping up hour number one here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by Bennington head football coach Cam Lenhart. Coach, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Coach, how are we doing? I apologize for this taking this long. I mean, when you haven't won since one of my kids, or lost since one of my kids was born, we probably should have talked to you sooner this year. How you been?
No. I've been doing well. It's right in the heart of football, so you can't be mad about it.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting, just obviously following you. Seems like I do a game of yours every year, just so happens to always usually be at state. I'm enjoying watching this offense evolve, because I think going in, knew you guys were going to be pretty stout defensively. I mean, you bring back some legit studs, but it's kind of been fun to watch you guys evolve on offense. Is this kind of new for you in this journey with this at this particular juncture in your life?
Yeah, I would say so. Houston, our quarterback, has a very strong arm, and so not that we've not been able to throw the ball in the past, but just he's very natural at it, and so being able to spread the ball out a little bit more, get things on the perimeter, and having 4 seniors out at receiver, it's been a lot of fun. So, yeah, definitely new in my eyes, but a lot of fun to see.
Coach, obviously you guys have been successful there for a really long time now, as DB alluded to. What is something kind of unique about this team that you've particularly enjoyed coaching?
I just think the amount of buy-in that this group has. Every year you think that the kids are all bought in and everything, and it's just proven every year it just gets a little bit better and better. They have a lot of things to prove. A lot of people fear about complacency when we've been able to have success that we have, and people just kind of going through the motions, and I don't see that at all. I see this team that's hungry. They want to prove that they're just as good as any other team that's come in the past.
We do NEB preps every week, and we break down what's going on in the different classes. I'm kind of looking at this schedule, and I know your personality. You're going to be one game at a time, and right now that's Elkhorn. So I'll generally say, do you like how your schedule has broken down to get you to ramp up towards the playoffs?
Yeah, I really do. At the beginning of the year when the schedules came out, I said one thing: we were either going to be kind of beat up from the amount of teams that we play that are high quality, or we're going to be really well prepared. So come playoff time, I think we're going to be a team that people don't want to play. But we still got to make sure we're taking 1 week at a time. So like you said, Elkhorn's the only focus right now.
Coach, you mentioned the buy-in from this team earlier, and I was talking to DB because, they've had a little bit of success over there at Westside too earlier this morning, about how some of the challenges of making sure guys feel like they have to earn it when they've been in a program that's been super successful, even though maybe they weren't key cogs in that success earlier in their careers. Is that something you find you have to fight against at all, or does the buy-in kind of just take care of that?
I think that's not something that we've really honestly had to deal with. I think it's just been the next kid who steps up doesn't want to be the guy who lets it all down.
Yeah.
So, they say, here's what happened in the past. I want to be better than that guy, which I hope they want to.
Coach, for you and your staff, and it's super quality staff, and what are the challenges that you guys use internally? You don't just roll the ball out there and play. I've seen you at multiple clinics. What is it for you that with your personality that you can clearly see in your team?
I think competitiveness. We try to compete in anything that we do. If you were to come to one of our practices Monday through Thursday, there's going to be some form of competition where our one-on-ones are getting after one another. We don't take any day as maybe like a light day or a walkthrough day. We're going to find some way to compete, whether that's for 10 minutes or for 30 minutes. And that's what I think's helped keep the edge in what we do come Friday night.
Coach, as DB said, you've got Elkhorn coming up tonight. What are some of the challenges you think that the Antlers are going to face for you?
Yeah, they're a really physical team, and they love to control the football. They did a tremendous job last week against their game with Elkhorn North of just having the ball. I think it was like 89-34. And so if they can get in their rhythm and just continue to pick up 3-4 yards every single play, they're a very hard team to stop. And when you don't have the ball, it's hard to score. So I think making sure that we possess the ball longer than them, and when we have it, we need to put points on the board because we know that they can do that.
Unified front is huge, and it doesn't mean just O-line and D-line. Sometimes it has to happen within the walls of your school amongst the variety of sports. You get a tremendous amount of crossover with your athletes within the building. You appear, at least on the surface, you may tell me something different when it's just you. You appear to play very nicely with one another in other sports, having so many multi-sport guys. How important is that?
I think it's tremendously important. I would say, honestly, I would say across the board, all of our male athletics get along. And so in regards to football, that's tremendous. We ask our guys to be multi-sport athletes. I think the most important thing goes back to that competitiveness. So you can compete maybe in certain ways, but there's nothing like competing in high school sports. So we want our kids to wrestle. We want our kids to play basketball. We want them to be on the baseball field and on the track because when it comes to fall, I think all those things pay dividends.
Coach, I got to ask you something because as the community continues to grow around you, and I was 5 minutes from there, and it's growing, it's booming. You come across your personality like you're always under control. I don't mean you have to be in control, but you're always under control. How do you manage the growing numbers in your youth program? What's going on where you're wanting the pipeline to continue to grow that kind of keeps you so steady, Eddie? The vision for the community has to be pretty clear, doesn't it?
Yeah, I would say I am so fortunate that I have great people to work with. I don't think it's a one-man show by any means. You go back and we talk about our staff. We have 13 guys on staff who are truly bought into the vision that we have, and everything that they do goes towards the team. We have a great youth program in terms of just understanding they're there to help build future badgers, not there to try to win middle school or elementary championships. So they take the time. We provide coaching clinics so that they can truly get an idea of what we do and what the mindset is, and then they run with it. And so I think it really is just a community effort, and that's what makes Bennington so special.
Coach, stay right there, because you said something I think sometimes that makes people cringe a little bit. I'm part of some youth organizations now currently where they're trying to have this understanding. Hey, is this a developmental thing? Are we trying to be competitive? And it's the age-old discussion, right? It's not just football. Sometimes it's like that in basketball or baseball. Hey, are we developmental league or we want to be competitive? Can we afford to be both? How did that message start where you can just do what you're doing now with such a unified front? Like at what level did you go with or down to, for lack of a better term, to start to communicate the direction that you wanted it to go?
Yeah, so right when I took over, I was fortunate enough I had the board member or the board president who said, hey, we want to kind of get you as a volunteer board member. So with our youth organization right away that I was able to step in and kind of explain, here was my vision, here's what I wanted. And at the end of the day, I told them, guys, my number one goal for you is to make sure kids want to go play football the next year. Just make them want to play football, and we can do the rest.
Man, Coach, how important is that part of it, right? Because we've been talking all morning about kind of the athletic experience of high school and what the goal is there, right? Because, I mean, yeah, it's great when you send guys off to play college football and things like that, but I think at this level, enjoying the experience and wanting to play football is more important than all of the other stuff. How did you come to that conclusion?
I think it just comes from experience. And I think I look back at my career and how much high school football meant to me, and how fortunate I was to go play after that. And at the end of the day, I want that same experience for the young men that come through our program. I think football can teach a lot of valuable life lessons. And so any kid that wants to play football is welcome. We don't have cuts. We're never going to tell a kid he can't play. We obviously have high expectations, but anyone who wants to be a part of this and wants to do the right things, they're more than welcome. And we want to grow our program. And, you know, the numbers show kids want to be a part of it, and we hope that they continue to want to be a part of it.
Coach, you know, I'm a huge fan, man. Give the guys my best wishes the rest of the way with Elkhorn, Scott.
I really appreciate it.
Scott and Elkhorn North down the stretch before you get ready to defend your title.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Coach.
That's Coach Lenhart from Bennington. Really good stuff there. Especially, I mean, so, you know, that's the thing I've been thinking a lot about this morning with that Millard South and Lincoln High thing, right? Because I totally understand wanting to protect your kids. The one thing, and you brought this up with Northwest, the one thing I was trying to kind of rationalize or figure out in my own head is, hey, you want this to be a teachable moment about life, right? That's what high school football is for, in my opinion, first and foremost, right?
Depends on the coach, but you'd like.
That's what I think it should be for,
yeah,
right?
No,
whether it is or isn't.
I'm with you.
My question is, if you're in that spot, like, what's the teachable moment by saying, like, guys, is it like, hey, we're setting our ego aside here to be protective of one another? Like, what's the teachable moment for Lincoln High at halftime last night?
I think getting up and getting dressed in the morning today.
Yeah.
I mean, you start with those kind of steps.
It's like, hey, you can take it on the chin, but you got to get up again the next day.
Yeah, right. Because I mean, it's
just keep enduring.
It's a tough lesson, especially when it's a physical one.
Yeah.
But that will go away.
Yeah.
It's the emotional part you have to manage.
The failure isn't final part.
Yeah.
That's what I've been thinking a lot about this morning.
That's the part you have to manage,
because I think that's the hard part.
And Coach Mackey's well equipped, man. He's seen it all.
Yeah, I mean,
doesn't make it any easier, but he's equipped.
That certainly helps. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. will be back. We will be back. Welcome to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
3rd and 6, actually the final verdict. Kelly missed, again throwing in the flat, pass knocked away, nearly picked off by Sierra Wright. Or he did. Sierra held on to it. It's a pick in midfield for Sierra Wright. How about that?
Kicking off hour number 2 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. Tim, what's going on, man?
Hey, not too much. How about y'all? Enjoy the bye week.
Oh, kinda. Are you gonna get out and you gonna be like some guys on Nebraska's coaching staff, the head man in particular, and get out and see a high school game, or how? What's on tap for tonight? I know tomorrow is loaded with college football. What's on tap for tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to see Connor Booth. But I want to make sure get out to see him. Just to get eyes on him. I want to be able to put
considering he's putting up circus like numbers.
Yep. And that's the thing. I want to be able to put that into context. I mean, we talked about it last week. Like, again, D1 players don't get tackled very often. Good D1 players don't get tackled very often at the high school level. But I think it's important to put into context the level of competition he's playing at and trying to get an idea of how that'll translate to the next level.
Tim, when you're going to some of these smaller schools to make those evaluations, like obviously the level of competition is not going to be the same as, say, the Blue Valley game last night, right, where Coach Rule was at checking out Dawson Merritt. But so, like, how do you put that into context, knowing like, hey, this is probably the only D1 athlete in any sport on this field in most instances? Like, how do you kind of get a frame of reference for that with a guy like Connor Booth?
Yeah, I think it's important you go out there and you're just looking to see how much better does he look than everyone else around him. You're expecting if he's the lone, like, D1 commit or D1 type player on the entire field, you're expecting him to look different. How much different does that look? Because I've seen, I wrote it up this week just because someone had asked me about that as well in our mailbag this week about just why does level of competition matter in evaluations. And I basically just said, it's like, again, if you are a D1 player playing against lower level of competition, you should look the part, like the two of the best players I've ever seen against lower levels of competition are Dalton Brooks and Terry Bussey, who both start at Texas A&M right now as freshmen. And those guys were doing everything for their team. They're playing running back, they're playing DB, They're playing linebacker. They're returning kicks, returning punts. They're scoring and contributing in every possible way. Like both of them leading their teams basically all on their own to state championship type success.
Tim, let me go back to Merritt real quick. I got a lot of guys, at least a handful down in that area. Do you think Dawson Merritt is the best defensive player on that team?
Ooh, I think so. I think so.
That feels like a loaded question.
I just was getting,
okay.
Yeah, no, I'd say so, just because, like, I mean, on top of just the physical tools, I would say the instincts are something that are high level for a kid his age, just because of who his family, like his family and the amount of film he watches, and kind of just the way he was raised around the game. Just in the same way, we talk about Dylan and how being raised by an NFL center helps you learn a lot more about line checks and adjusting things at the line. Like being raised by an NFL head coach, like it just teaches you to watch film differently. And as a linebacker, you're seeing that start to translate in Dawson's game over the last 2 seasons.
So let's talk about Dawson for a second here. Obviously, he's still committed to Alabama, but Coach Rule's down there last night. He was back in Lincoln a few weeks ago. Where is Nebraska at with Dawson Merritt?
The feeling just coming out of last night, and Greg Smith was on the scene yesterday, so talking to him last night and talking to some people around there, the feeling around there right now is it's coming down to Nebraska and Alabama. Like it's truly like obviously he's committed right now, but it feels like a recruitment again, and it feels like it's just coming down to those two schools, those two really battling it out down the stretch here, and it feels like it's one of those things that it may not happen imminently, but it may be something come signing day where we're like, hey, just don't forget about Dawson Merritt. Like what, Nebraska's got most of the class in the boat. What are they really waiting on? And it's going to be like, oh, can they flip Dawson Merritt on signing day? Like it feels like it's one of those type of recruitments right now where Nebraska's going to have to keep chipping away. But I mean, things like Bama's loss to Vanderbilt, Nebraska's defense playing the way they have. I think an important thing down the stretch here too would be getting some idea of what Tony White's future looks like too. Is he going to stick around in Nebraska?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Yep.
That's the thing. Although, no, I'm not going to get into the wagering on how long I think T. White's going to be around. TV, let me ask you something. And this is a little off the radar, but could you foresee a deal and depending on what's happened, because the wins and losses thing got me focused on Missouri, right? And what happened with them. And obviously Williams and Lacey, two guys Nebraska was in on down the stretch pretty much, aren't really playing for drink right now. And who knows, right? He could be one of those guys that could be on the move. Could you see any guys, and you don't have to be specific, but Coach Rule and this staff being a staff where guys circle back based on what they learned in recruitment versus what they thought Nebraska had to prove and show before they said yes, as they watched Nebraska's ascent?
I think so.
Those are just two guys that come to mind because
and I think
early.
Yeah, those are two good names too. I think to circle just because, and I think the Missouri conversation is something that we don't need to necessarily get into right now because we're speculating what they might do down the stretch of the season, but I think it factors into the Jackson Cantwell conversation as well because he currently sees Missouri as a contender and Nebraska as a team that's getting there. But I think both programs are more similar than everyone thinks. I think they're in different spots as where they're going, but I think they're closer in trajectory than people think. And in that same boat, like that does apply to Williams and that does apply to Lacey. But yeah, like in general with that class, Nebraska just didn't have time to capitalize in the 2024 cycle on landing Dylan Raiola. And I think a lot of those guys are now watching Dylan, a guy they got to know pretty well through the recruiting process because Dylan was a guy that went and built relationships and did peer recruit at previous spots. He just never had that time in Nebraska. I think that's going to be a thing where, a couple guys are checking in on Nebraska if they're in the portal. Even if they're not in the portal, they're going to be like, hey, would I have a spot there? There's going to be some feelers out. And it's not to say, anything necessarily illegal is happening. It's just kind of the way the game is right now.
We're talking with Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Tim, speaking of guys that are committed to places that maybe aren't having the years they thought they would, Chase Lofton here locally is committed to Florida State. We've already seen a bunch of people from that 2025 class for Florida State kind of jump ship. Have you gotten any sense of what you think might happen with Chase Lofton as this recruitment continues to play out?
I think suitors are circling back there too, especially with the kind of the senior year he's having. Again, I said it back, and I still believe it. I think if you're gonna put odds on who can flip him away, I still give A&M the edge over Nebraska. And I could again see some other contenders also entering that. Like, I just think right now it's going to take him showing real interest in Nebraska for me to see Nebraska as like a real player again there. Because just since he's committed, I don't think we've seen that genuine real interest in staying home. I just haven't gotten that.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. And I don't know enough. I'm just the context clues. I don't know if he wants to be. He doesn't strike me as somebody that I think he wants to get away, which is okay. Like there's been, it's a lot of kids. It's just like I remember Xavier Watts was like, I just want to go someplace different.
It's better for some kids. I mean, it just is.
Right. And that's just my feel on it as well. Like I just think, like, again, the allure of playing in the SEC, trying something new, like being raised in the Midwest and wanting to experience something new. Like, I understand all of that, and I think that's just kind of where he's at right now.
Tim, let me ask you something. I've been asking some of our guys that follow this team pretty close, just on average, to ask, roughly, because this conversation centers around offense, roughly how many points Nebraska leaves on the field. Just in Nebraska City yesterday, I was talking to this crew, and they said anywhere from 14 to 17, which was the highest that I had heard.
Yeah.
But all week, the BCs, the Brunses, those guys, anywhere from 7 to 13 points on the field. If you're in that ballpark and you think the evolution of Nebraska's youth on offense in some spots, like Barney and, Dadell, who's only played 6 games, and obviously Dylan and Banks and Nair have only, they're in their 6 games with this offense.
I mean, Gunnar Gatula.
Gatula's another one. Like there's a little bit of a laundry list there, right? If you believe in upward ascent in terms of their development, does that number get smaller for you as the season goes on, or does it is what it is because we perceive the schedule getting more difficult, kind of limiting the ability to not leave as many points out on the field?
I think it's kind of a mix, but I do think that number has to get smaller just because even with the defenses you're playing, like,
what would you put it at? Are you in that neighborhood?
Yeah, I think I'm in that more closer to that 7 to 13 neighborhood. I think they are leaving a couple points on the field, but it's one of those things, like, again, like looking ahead at the schedule, Indiana, Ohio State, if this team is what they want to be and they're taking the steps forward, even against these better defenses, like, that number should be shrinking still. Like, you're going to have to be able to put up points on Indiana. You're going to have to be able to put up points on Ohio State. Like, at some point or another, this offense does have to play 4 quarters of ball where they're finishing drives for 4 quarters.
Tim, how do you weigh the maturation of the young guys or the inexperienced guys on offense versus the upscale in competition over the next 6 games versus the first 6 games?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think it all has to be relative, and I don't think people are going to do, again, everyone loses context week to week, but I really think context is going to matter, just comparing the first half of the season to the second half of the season. Like, Nebraska could pop up out of this bye week 0-2, and people would turn around and be like, oh, okay, they just came out flat out of the bye week. It's like, no, they played 2 of the best teams on their schedule, like, out of the bye week. Like, but I think if you're talking points and you're talking true metrics of what you're looking for, just on field, what you're looking for. I mean, the main thing I'm really looking for in these big games is how well these young guys specifically step up into that moment. We've seen Dylan step up into the moment and embrace it, but then we've also seen him get rattled, kind of late against Illinois. We saw him get rattled against Rutgers. So how does he look against competition? Ja'Cory Barney loves to play football. I expect him to keep, bouncing up from these big hits and all of that. But how does he kind of step up when, it's Caleb Downs across the field from him, like how does that look? Gunnar, I think Gunner's a big one. I think how Gunnar embraces the tougher stretch of the schedule ahead. Jack Sawyer, JT2, Maloa, Kamara over at Indiana. How is he going to embrace these tougher edge rushers that he's going to face? I'm really just looking more from a mentality and from a willingness to compete standpoint more than like an actual statistical standpoint through the backstretch with how tough the schedule is for the young guys.
All right, before we get global with this weekend slate of college games in the Big Ten, I'm going to stay right there with Indiana because you mentioned something about their edge, and I'm watching these guys. I'm only on the third game against Power Four, so bear with me. So far, like generally speaking, pretty active front seven. A little undersized in the secondary. I'm still trying to figure out how fleet of foot this team is defensively, but they do a pretty good job of keeping things in front, right? They go from 2 to 1 and kind of rolling coverage. When you look at how this team is playing so far, how do you pit their personnel versus the statistics that you're seeing them generate on every week?
I think they're maximizing that. The biggest thing is they're maximizing practically everyone that's on the field. Like every guy
active front seven.
Yep. That's a big thing. And it's like I think they're just getting the most out of literally everybody. Like I think that's the biggest thing because it's like it's a lot of guys that are overachieving. It's a lot of guys that are playing to probably the best football they've played in their careers. And it's a lot of like, some of the biggest contributors. D'Angelo Pons, Kamara, like I mentioned, all these guys kind of transferred in with there's some familiarity there. They transferred in with Cignetti. So that's part of it. And I think when you look at this team in general, my general feel is like, they're not doing anything super, super impressive schematically. It really is just like they just line up and they play football and they count that all 11 of their guys are going to execute better than all 11 of the team they're facing. And that just kind of feels like who they are. They're very disciplined. They play loose, disciplined but loose. And they just execute like every single play. It's we're going to execute better than you. We're going to be marginally better than you. And it's led to their 6-0 start. And I do wonder what that looks like against, a Nebraska team that I think they're going to face bigger challenges than they have all season.
Yeah, Tim, I'm curious about Indiana because I understand that there's a lot of really good players at non-power conference football in the country. I also understand typically if you're bringing in a bunch of guys from a James Madison or lower levels or something like that, at some point in the Big Ten, that's going to catch up with you just from a talent versus talent perspective. Have you gotten a good gauge for the overall talent level of Indiana, or are you still trying to figure that out based on who they've played?
I'm still trying to figure that out, and I really think that Nebraska game is important just for me to figure out what they're going to do this season and also where they stack up to. Like, I really do believe that because, again, the one thing with Nebraska right now is the top guys on this team are experienced guys in the Big Ten, guys that have been around this conference for a long time and have seen a lot. So, if you're able to hold up against the Nashes and Ties and Tommy Hills and Deshaun Singletons and Marquise Bufords of the world, you can hold up in the Big Ten, it feels like, and on the flip side of that too, it's like, if you can hold up defensively against the size of Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nair and the speed of Ja'Cory Barney and that, I think the lines are kind of a wash in this game.
Yeah, I'm with you. This is the matchup. A little smaller DBs for Indiana.
Yep.
But you know what I think has to happen? I'll be curious on the road, Tim.
Yep.
If Dylan kind of cuts it loose. Because I think if he does, in them playing so much zone behind that front seven, there's some plays to be made.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like you said, they keep everything in front of them, and that kind of benefits Dylan in Nebraska.
Yeah, kind of how they want to play. Yeah, how they want to play.
Yeah, exactly. And and it's like it's one of those things where it's like, okay, hey, maybe that open up the top isn't there for Dylan play to play, but he's never had an issue just taking off the little check down, and if guys have room to run, they'll maximize that room to run.
Yeah, I think when people let Dylan kind of pick apart little zone coverage in the intermediate range, that's I think where we've seen him be the best this year. Tim, as we kind of transition into the Big Ten schedule for this week, there's 4 games that I think are interesting in the Big Ten: Washington, Iowa, Wisconsin, Rutgers, Penn State, USC, and then obviously Oregon, Ohio State. Out of those 4 games, do you have one that you think you can learn the most about one of those teams?
I think Wisconsin Rutgers. I don't have a gauge on what Wisconsin is. I think Nebraska's the better program right now. I think Nebraska's the better team so far this year, but I think that Rutgers game is going to give me a good idea of who they are. The only other one I think is close is USC, just because this is a good opportunity for me to figure out kind of where they fit in the Big Ten and how they can stick, playing kind of these coast to coast type games.
So is it just because I'm so bad? I'm like, Tim, say Washington and Iowa. Is it because you think you know who Iowa is?
Yeah, I mean, I just again, if they come out this weekend and they're able to limit what Washington does offensively and also put up some points, I'll be like, oh, okay, well, there we go. But I think I know what that team is. They are who they are. They're going to play real good defense, and offensively, they are going to struggle a little bit. And so it's like, if I need to see them be able to put up points, because we saw that early in the year, and it's like, oh, okay, maybe they've got something going. I want to see them be able to put up points on a Big Ten opponent, and Washington's a good opportunity to do that. I more than anything too, I'm also looking at what's closer on the schedule too. Like Iowa feels still so far out for me.
Tim, I kind of agree with you on those two games that you picked out because, and correct me if I'm wrong here, in your opinion, but like Oregon, Ohio State, unless there's a blowout one way or the other, I'm still going to think both those teams are good. I'm still going to think that both those teams have a shot to make the playoff. But I do feel like that Penn State USC game could dramatically change how I feel about USC one way or the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's definitely a time zone narrative game as I collectively roll my eyes.
People have never traveled before, DB.
Now, but listen, I'm gonna say this, Tim. I know this is your segment, so I'm gonna let you go. I'm not gonna do this, but I do feel like we're being a little disingenuous because all of us would take a direct flight if we could, even though we're flying. So let's not act like traveling 5 hours is not a big deal, right? Because if we could travel it in 2, we would.
Sure.
Now, how big of a deal it is, I don't know. But the narratives and jokes that are coming out of this time zone thing are kind of funny. I just don't think we'll be able to put pen to paper on a narrative, regardless of what James Franklin says, until the end of the season. Because right now, the better teams are winning. It doesn't matter what time zone they're in.
Right. I completely agree on that too. Like I think it's not like I think that statistics a little
outside of Washington and Rutgers. Like that was a toss up, but the game is close.
Right. And that's like that's the thing. Like what does that record look like? 2-7 if Washington pulls, or 2-6 if Washington pulls that out?
Well, how do you feel about SC in Minnesota? Because that would be the other one.
That's the other one, and even that one, I just think like. Yeah, I mean that was a good learning lesson for what this USC team is, and also what this Minnesota team is.
I didn't like their matchup. When I said Minnesota would win, I told Ravi I just don't think SC is ready to be physical every week.
Yeah,
I don't know if the time zone changes.
Well, that was my concern about SC coming into the year. Right? Was hey, they got their head beat in by Utah last year, and that's the most physical team on their schedule.
I just think the repetitive O-line, D-line play. It's just hard if you're not used to it.
To do it every week,
yeah.
Yeah, they don't. I don't think they have the Big Ten trenches just yet, or the depth. Like I think the top end, especially in the O line, I think the top end is there, but the depth isn't necessarily there for SC. So yeah, I agree. Like I mean, those two games kind of toss ups. If the team that traveled comes out on the winning side of that, that statistic doesn't look as crazy as it does right now. And I mean, like again, like. Nebraska's traveling to USC. USC is probably going to be favored in that game, but then UCLA travels to Nebraska. Nebraska's going to be favored in that game. Like that's also part of it. Like the way these are happening are like you said, the favorite team is the one hosting for the most part.
So let me ask you something, and maybe you haven't gotten into it yet, but watch Indiana UCLA twice. UCLA keeps coming up in depth. Then I watch them. They were on in studio during a pregame show last week, so I didn't watch it all. But UCLA seems to be suffering from kind of a depth issue too. But have you watched any Indiana UCLA? Because I kind of felt like that score was misleading.
That's been a couple of these Indiana games. Like,
well, they
even
score late a lot.
Yeah.
Yep. Even last week,
he's not afraid to stay on the gas.
Right. And last week, that was the thing. They pulled away a little late, where it's like, hey, that game was 1-2 scores at one point, and they kind of pulled away. But last week, and even against Maryland, like that's kind of been
it was 21-21 middle of the third, right?
Right.
There's a couple turnovers in a row, and Sharpie looked at me and he goes, "Oh, Indiana's up 2 scores now over Maryland," and I'm like, "How? There's Nebraska's only snapped the ball like 6 times."
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a game where time of possession matters. Being able to hold onto the ball really matters. Just to keep the ball away from Curtis Rourke in that offense right now. It's an I don't know. I need to get a better feel for Indiana. I just watch more and UCLA and put that game more into context too, because I do think UCLA's kind of been this like doormat of the conference so far this season. Like, there's been a couple, but they feel like the one that everyone's kind of like every week like taking their turn to whoop up on. But I feel like the team's slowly but surely getting better, and there's legit talent there where it's like, hey,
depth is an issue for any of these teams. It's UCLA, not.
Yep.
I mean, like they got some good top end talent.
That's
for
Tim
sure.
from Inside Nebraska. Tim, we appreciate it as always. Have a good weekend.
Appreciate y'all.
We'll be back tomorrow. Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's TV. I'm Ravi Lulla here on the Pillar Exterior stage. And we got some baseball going on. And one of our friends, I think, has given us a call that we like to talk to more over the summer. But
well, apparently lately on social media, he's been more your friend than mine.
I believe
he's constantly giving me a hard time.
Well,
and I met him first.
I think you deeply offended his heritage with the meatball situation. Our guy, Big A, Anthony Stabile. What's going on, buddy?
Deeply offended my heritage. I mean, there's three deeplies there. This guy's wiping red sauce off of meatballs, man. I can't be having that.
Okay.
My mom's sitting across from me eating breakfast. She just rolled her eyes.
Can I at least set what actually happened? Or are you just not hearing it?
My man, there's three sides to every story.
Okay,
right?
listen. This is
three sides.
This is the God's
I want to hear that meatball side. That's what I want to hear. I want to know what that meatball says.
This is the God's honest truth. So I'm on this official visit with my kid, right? The head coach, he's got a condo. So he had all this food. It's in these. I mean, it's high quality. It's like got these big warmers, and there's all these different sorts of dishes. He's Italian through and through. Okay, he's from right up there in the Northeast in your neighborhood, and so it's legit. But I waited like 3 or 4 hours, at least 4 hours. So I looked, and I'm like, I'm kind of on this protein thing, and I just wanted to. I'm like, this is too good of food to go to waste. So I picked the proteins out of each of the pastas. I'm totally that dude, by the way. So yes, you can make fun of me. And I was like, man,
you're not making this story any better
by
telling me you didn't eat the pasta. By the way.
I was gonna say you might be digging your own grave here.
So I didn't have any silverware, and I already don't like red sauce. So I just took my paper towel. I put the meatball in the paper towel. I wiped it down, and I just popped it in my mouth to eat it quick. And all of a sudden,
hold on. I couldn't hear that last thing. When you said you didn't like red sauce, my ears started bleeding. Give me 1 second. Give me 1 second.
That's how it happened. It was just like, I don't know. It had been sitting around. It just didn't look appealing, but I wanted the meat.
Rob, are you going on your own soon? Because I don't know if I can deal with this dude anymore, man. This is a rough conversation.
I felt like you may feel better if you actually knew the context of what happened.
Yeah, no, I knew the context, and I felt like there was a 0% chance that was going to bring Big A around.
Yeah, I wiped the red sauce off and picked it out of pasta. Yeah, you really got a lot of points this morning, buddy.
My
Good
bad.
job.
Just being honest.
You're lucky
this guy listens like he was. This guy sounds like he was an extra in Goodfellas, and you think taking it out of the pasta and wiping off the red sauce was going to convince him?
Yeah, maybe so.
You're looking at wasn't other red sauce. If I was there might have been some other red sauce on that table.
So what's going on, man? Are you enjoying this? Go ahead.
You're lucky I'm in a good mood. You're lucky I'm in a good mood because for the last 11 days, it's all Queens get the money. That's all it is. It's Nas, it's 50, it's Run DMC, it's LL, and then I throw everybody for the loop. I put a little Tony Bennett in there.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, Lord.
There we go.
Mr. Versatility, and that got Ravi to pipe. Weird. He said 50, and you gravitate towards Tony Bennett. Shocked.
Listen, I like the guy in a tux, the old school crooner. Let's do it. Let's get some Tony Bennett going on in here.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
There's an old racetrack guy. His name was Willie Bananas. He was a jockey's agent, and when he was younger, Willie's been gone a while. He worked for a big band, and Tony DiBenedetto came walking into his auditorium in Astoria, Queens, and he looked at Tony Bennett's father. He's like, "Listen, the kid's got a good voice, but he's got a receding headline and a crooked nose. He's never going anywhere in this life." How many 2018 songs later, I believe, is the actual? I think that's like close to a real number too. Like 2,000 songs later, Willie Bananas made the biggest mistake of his life. He let Tony Bennett walk out of his auditorium in Astoria, Queens.
So Big A, what's going on, buddy? Are you enjoying the Mets? What's going on with this podcast? I hear, man. You want to do what we do? Because you're really good on air.
We got a podcast. Thank you very much. We got a racing podcast coming. It's going to be called The Far Turn. Shopping it around right now. We have a home with M2 Productions. Trying to get some sponsorship right now, but we're going to have something going before the Breeders' Cup for sure. I'll let you guys know. Breeders' Cup's 3 weeks from today. So there's 2 days of the Breeders' Cup, Friday and Saturday. Friday is all the young horses, 2-year-olds. They call it Future Stars Friday. And then Saturday's the championship day. So that's 3 weeks. That starts 3 weeks from today. There'll be a pod out before then. I'll let you guys know, and I'll be on Twitter and all my social X, whatever they call it, and all my social media. So I've been working on that. Still at Finger Lakes for another 7 weeks, calling the races. And right now, it's getting the orange and blue home. Right now, that's all it's really about.
Are you rooting for a Subway series, or are you just like, hey, to hell with the Yankees?
Yeah, I just got my head down right now. Just focusing on the boys of Queens. If it happens, it happens. I would imagine.
Wait a minute, you don't strike me as the type of guy that's going to turn tail. This team's got the best record in baseball since June.
No. I'm not. Believe me, I'm not turning tail. It's just as I've gotten older in life, I have learned from my mistakes. And I used to run my big fat mouth a lot. So what I do now is I just like the ladies, I just let them come to me. I don't chase anymore. I refuse to chase.
Hey, how quick?
The last 4 or 5 came this way. I was like, the fat man don't got to be on the chase
4
anymore.
or 5?
Sit here.
Get out of here.
Buddy, let me tell you something. If I showed you that roster, it looks like the 96 Bulls, not in looks, but in talent, my man. Trust that. So
you got a couple Rodmans on there, or what's going on, Big A?
So, no Rodmans, believe me. I got a couple of Angela Reeses, though. Don't worry about the big man. So let me put it to you like this.
Wow.
Them Philly fans were running their mouths. They were like Forrest Gump around here. You know what they're doing today? They're going to Pat's. They're going to Geno's. They're getting ready to watch them garbage Eagles on Sunday at 1 o'clock. Queens get the money. There ain't no Red October. It's Dead October down there.
Hey,
they turn that place into a spirit. They turn that place into a spirit Halloween shop. It's done. It's a wrap down there in Philly.
So
they're done. Who's next? We'll find out tonight.
Why is it that typical those East Coast New York fans, they go in tandems? Is it Mets, Jets, and Yankees, Giants? Is that how it typically goes?
It's Mets, and I don't root for a football team. Since I lost a copious amount of money back in 2003 betting on football, I kind of stay away.
Not that you remember the year or anything. I mean,
I could tell you the game. I stopped betting football when the Bucks blew the 21-point lead against Peyton Manning and the Colts on the Monday night.
Oh wow, you do.
I made a 5-figure bet, and I was wrapped up after that. They called Warren Sapp for leaping in overtime. And Vanderjagt hit like a 45-yarder, and the sports gambling career was cut short due to funds oil. It was all over with. So I stayed away for a long time. The Michael Jordan of the roster is my fantasy football guru.
Wow, you've got an MJ? Are you?
I got an MJ. Yeah.
Are you serious?
Yeah. She's no joke too. She's no joke with the fantasy football. No joke with the fantasy football. 2 for 2, 2 leagues in a row. But we don't talk right now. We're trying to work on a new contract. But yes, sir. I got a fantasy football guru, so I stay away I don't mess around. I tried to play in the league last year. I went 3-10. I was like, I can't do this nonsense. I gotta stay away.
Oh,
so we just focus on the Mets. I do believe that the Yankees are going to get to the World Series. Those Tigers and whoever wins that series tomorrow night, Tigers and Guardians. It still sounds weird to say. I don't think they're a match for the Yankees. Probably the Guardians would probably have a little bit of a better chance. But
how quickly did it take you to come around on Lindor? Because 7 months ago, it was the worst contract the Mets had done in the last 15 years, and now he's like, he should have been in the MVP discussion if it wasn't for Ohtani.
I was checking out in August. I'm full. Listen, I have culpability. I was checking out in August, and my mom kept me in. She's probably the biggest Lindor fan I know. She kept me in. She's like, I just feel it. I feel it. I feel it. And I know what she means, but she doesn't want to say 86. But she keeps saying, I feel it. I feel it. So I'm like, and then Sunday, she's right in the background.
Yeah, she said yes.
Kept saying it's in the air. And she stands here like a lunatic, watches the TV. I go into a different room because I need to be isolated. I'm like the boy in the bubble. I can't be, I gotta be. I stayed at Finger Lakes because game 4 Wednesday night, I would have been driving home. I got a 5.5 hour ride home. I sat in that same desk chair. I did not get up to do anything except get my water and get rid of my water, if you know what I mean. I just sat there.
Big A, make sure you join us in a couple weeks before the Breeders' Cup. You can let us know about the new pod as well. And God, I hope we have an update on Michael Jordan's contract extension.
Yeah, man, get that thing signed.
Don't believe me. That and the Mets are 1-2 in importance right now. We gotta get that done.
Hey,
wrap that deal up.
Hey, high guaranteed money, short-term deals. That's my advice. All right.
Yeah, no, I need a long-term deal.
That's Big A. We'll be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla. We're brought to you this segment by Union Omaha. Our friends over at Union Omaha, they've got a match tomorrow at Warner Park, 4 p.m. against Lexington. It is Hispanic Heritage Night presented by Centris Federal Credit Union. Make sure you get out and support our friends at Union Omaha. Get tickets at unionomaha.com. I got a caller on the Hurrdat hotline, Pete. Pete, what's going on, bud?
Hey, I got a question for you.
All right, what's up?
On field goal kicking, is there a certain distance that you have to be between the center and the holder on place kicks? Or could you move the holder back 2 yards, keep from getting field goals blocked? Is there a rule on that or not?
God, that is a great question. And I'm not even sure I know the answer. You're probably thinking, why not just move it back 2 yards or a yard or whatever?
Yeah, I see a heck of a lot more field goals get blocked than I ever see a field goal missed by 2 yards, distance-wise.
Oh, yeah. Appreciate the call, Pete. To my knowledge, I don't know that there's a rule.
Yeah, I don't either.
But
I don't know if anybody's ever asked me that.
Certainly nobody's ever asked me. Here would be my specific concern about trying that with Nebraska. The snaps haven't been great. I don't think increasing the snap distance is going to help what ails Nebraska's kicking game. So in this specific instance, I don't know that it's helpful. I could see in a different spot, like maybe you have a guy that kicks a little lower typically, but good leg, good accuracy. You're not worried about the distance. Sure, I could see that, but I don't, because I think about punts as sort of a corollary. You can be wherever you want to be on a punt. You can do a pooch punt with a quarterback. Obviously, when you're at the goal line, you don't have your full distance. I think it's just kind of what people have decided is optimal, closest you can be with getting it over the line most of the time. But for Nebraska specifically, I don't think it helps because I think it's mostly the snaps at this point. I mean, yes, you've got some issues with the actual kickers, but if you can get the snaps right, that'd go a long way.
Is that the first time you've ever heard that?
That is the first time I've ever heard that question.
I'm 50. That's the first time I've ever heard that.
Yeah, I think,
and I don't know the answer. That's interesting.
Yeah, I've never heard that it's a rule, and based on what I see in punting, I would guess it's not. But that's just me kind of trying to find my closest corollary there. It is. I mean, it's a fair question. You know, I just don't know that it would help Nebraska.
Yeah,
this year.
My man Haas on Twitter, going back to Coach Lenhart's, and if you missed our coach's corner, we had Cam Lenhart. I think Shane thought I was talking about the real Cam Lenhart at Nebraska, as opposed to the real Cam Lenhart in Bennington.
Right.
One's with a K.
One's with a C.
And one's with a C. Lincoln is a C. Cam in Bennington is a K, who, by the way, always looks under control.
Yeah.
Like you think I'm playing. Like every time you see him, watch him, he's in public somewhere, that dude is never out of pocket. It's a reason his team plays like that. But anyway, my man Haas says, 100% what Coach Lenhart said about youth football. Coach Snodgrass gives us the same marching orders every year. If they all come back to play the next season, that's the win. Create the love for the game and don't worry about the record. I had another guy send me a message this morning, which is very interesting because he's in the thick of it. I won't give up the organization. He said our junior blank teams have a class of kids that we used to split into two. We used to always get rolled all the time. It wasn't a ton of fun. It's my understanding now that the MYFL now has levels, which is something I mentioned some years ago but was criticized for. So I think getting people on the same page within said organization is, because I know even Alvin, like at TNE, like OSA went through it. Are we going to be a developmental league? Or are we going to have
try and be competitive as possible?
Yeah, Jacob used to talk about it all the time, right? 'Cause it's just like getting on the same page. That's something. But the control thing, the analogy that I was making is not only is it his demeanor, but it's how the community responds to him too.
Sure.
Right? Like that thing is on lock.
Yeah. Well, I think there's, and I remember, when I was younger, I used to think this was kind of a loser mentality, right? But it's actually something I subscribe to now. And maybe that means I turned into a loser when I got old. I don't know. But
I've seen some of the haircuts. It's debatable at a young age. No, I'm just playing.
It's fair. Wasn't my best look. The soul patch was not the best call that I had there. But I think defining success is really important because it's not always wins and losses. And I used to think, listen, I grew up in the conversation we're having in a very privileged situation. I grew up 3 blocks from Millard North High School. That's always where I was going to go.
And you know what's funny? Because Coach Petito was probably my first close friend in the coaching ranks. He used to tell me what time they would practice in the mornings and get their workouts done. And I remember almost kind of being jealous.
Yeah.
He's like, well, most of our kids, they get here. We don't have any problems.
Yeah. Everybody.
But now I see the benefits of it.
Oh, 100%. Everybody I knew had a car, though, right? Like you turn 16, you get a car. Like that was just the reality of the people I grew up with. And my car wasn't as nice as some of my friends' cars, and some of my friends' cars weren't as nice as my car. But like pretty much everybody, if like you could get a car, or you had a friend that had a car at the very least, right?
Yeah.
And that's not the reality in a lot of communities or a lot of different high schools, right? So it's not even just about, well, Millard North has this academic program, they've got these resources for sports. It's even just the reality of like, hey, my parents had an extra $2,000 to get a car for me so that I could go I only live 3 blocks from school, so I probably could have walked, but they're like, hey, yeah, we don't want you walking during rush hour and stuff. You're crossing some major streets. Like, we'll get the car. It's fine, right? And that's a reality that a lot of people don't have. So I understand that growing up, I was in a pretty privileged situation going to high school and everything like that. But so I didn't think about things in the same terms because I was already set up for success in all the other things, right? The rest of my life was set up for success. So I didn't have to define success when it came to school and athletics. It was defined for me because everything else was kind of already worked out. So it's like, okay, now you go win, right? But if you don't have all that other stuff set the foundation for you, getting those things in place is the win.
Yeah.
Right? Getting the things in place where, hey, like we've got our community set. So from the ages of 7 or whatever it is in our flag football youth leagues to high school, like these kids have a place to learn the game and love the game and learn how to work hard. Like that's the success in some places. And it should be the success in some places, especially with certain ages, right? But I still don't think a lot of people think that way.
Yeah, It's interesting. I got this message. So I have a good friend. Let's just call him John. Well, his daughter's at one school because she's tremendous with dance. Okay, very good performer. She's grown up doing it. It's a passion of hers. So she goes to school X. His son goes to private school down the street. Contemplated a lot of schools, but he ended up at a private school. So they have the ability to be at split schools and go through
and have the logistics of it work.
Yeah.
Which is not everybody can do.
So if somebody can't, do you just say too bad?
Well, that's the debate that
because
we're having.
If your answer is yes, that's why there's open enrollment. If your answer is no, then what are we talking about? Because I got this on social media. I'm just curious. It says high school will soon be like college and NIL, which, okay. You should live in the district for where your school is and where you pay taxes. Many don't. The fact some schools recruit and have clubs where kids are connected to said school is embarrassing. What are we teaching these kids? My response was the same thing you're teaching them by not allowing the opportunity to have access to said schools.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It 100% does. Because you're...
By the way, my football savant friend,
yeah,
there is no rule.
Oh, good, yeah. I wouldn't have thought so.
Believe me,
He would know.
He's Raymond, yes.
So
yes. Knowing him,
yeah,
he's probably looked it up.
Probably. I have a friend like that.
Yeah.
That's just like, that they just get curious about things, and so that nobody else thinks about, so they look it up and whatever.
Well, I told you, literally, he's like Rain Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
But no, I mean, that is... Oh, yeah.
Do you guys...
That makes sense.
Do you guys want to get... Do you guys want to get...
Probably has it on, like, the visor in his car.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, though, because you are either saying, hey, that's just too bad, or you have to come up with a solution.
Yeah.
Right? Those are the options. And I'm not saying the solution business is easy, otherwise everyone would be in it. But, like, again, I said this.
You do have to have some...
You have to have some difficult conversations.
Yeah.
You have to have some honest conversations, because a lot of people aren't even willing to have the conversation that I'm saying, yes, it is just too bad. A lot of people aren't even willing to say that part out loud. But here's the other thing where I think we have to start being more genuine about this conversation too, is it's not even about the athletics. That is a visible symptom of the problem.
Yeah.
But
it's not the intent. It's a byproduct.
We don't care if somebody goes and enrolls somewhere for IB. We don't care if somebody goes and enrolls somewhere for band. And here's what I'll tell you. What you're teaching your kids, if you're like, hey, this is a really great opportunity for you, and I believe you have the skills to take advantage of that opportunity, you're teaching them to give themselves a shot. And that's a valuable lesson, rather than saying, hey, you're resigned to your circumstances. Those are the two options we're talking about, and that's not what we want to boil it down to, but that's what it is. Coming up next, we're going to talk to Mike Sautter here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Continue that conversation. Got some interesting thoughts on high school sports this week. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back with more.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's Mike Sautter joining us now. Before we hop into some high school sports, though, Levi has been waiting patiently to talk a little Yankees and Royals. Levi, what's going on, bud?
Ravi, I was just curious if you'd like to take this time to apologize to Yankee fans and Yankee Nation for the hot takes last week.
I would never apologize to Yankees.
Get him, Levi.
Yankees are the worst.
We got Birdie hitting 286, Volpe 250, Verdugo 214, Stanton 375. I mean, that can't be below average.
I mean, it's a 5-game sample size, but sure, whatever you want to do. Or 4-game sample size, whatever you want to do. Whatever you need to sleep at night, Levi, it's fine.
So
I will never give the Yankees any credit.
Wait,
you know
Levi,
that.
I've got a question for you. Who changes your opinion on the Yankees more? The fact that your bullpen acts like or Garrett Cole and your bullpen act like they have a pulse now, or that Stanton is showing life of hitting the baseball?
Oh, that's a good question. I like the way Stanton's hitting the baseball. We need him to step up big time.
So that lineup goes from like the Marlins and a couple of good hitters to dangerous again.
Levi, full disclosure here, I do have a huge soft spot for Stanton in my heart.
Why?
Because I was a very early adopter of exit velo. I loved it. And when he was with the Marlins and just cranking like 119 mile an hour line drives, I was like, I love this guy. And then he then he went to the Yankees, and I was a little heartbroken. But like, I still got a little love for him in my heart. I do.
He's just mad he went from Mike to Giancarlo. That's all.
Apparently, Bob Costas loves him.
Yeah,
I appreciate the call, Levi. I love the name Levi. Do you know why? This is weird. When I was in teachers college, I was in all my practicums with this young lady by the name of Tanya Mel.
Mm-hmm.
She had a brother that was a big fan.
Yeah.
She'd always talk about Levi. My little brother Levi. So I would go watch him play. He played at Crete. So that's really what got me started on watching other schools and other classes, because I went to Crete to watch Levi Mel. So I became a big Levi guy.
You know why?
Is that weird? Do you remember Levi? No, you weren't doing. Yeah, that was. Listen, do you know when that was? That was.
Shane, can we get Sauter's mic?
That was 94.
That's a little before his high school days.
Where is? Why can't we hear? Why can't we hear?
I
Jerome?
can't hear him either. That's me.
Shane, I think Jerome is in 2. I think he's in 2. Jerome, say something.
Nope. Got nothing.
Here comes Shane. I know people are probably like, don't turn his mic on. Or they're like, let him talk. Turn DB off.
Let him cook.
Let him cook. I know. It's Shane's fault, he said.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure they could hear that.
Our mics will still pick you up there, so we don't need to do that.
I can't hear
As
myself.
You're not on yet.
He's fixing it.
Oh.
Look at that's his.
He's running, man.
He loved the bird.
He did the little double points in the air.
There you go, Shane. All right. Shane running is the funniest thing I've seen.
We got him.
Welcome, Jerome. How are things? How we doing?
It's good. Okay. I'm doing tired, but I'm great. Gas prices are down. The Dow is up. The record I saw like the other day, record Dow, and the government didn't make this hurricane worse than the last one. So I feel good about life.
Wow. Okay.
And if you believe that, whoo, buddy.
Sautter out here for controlling the weather.
Okay, sorry, wrong show.
Yeah, right. It's
the wrong station for that.
Think say NPR.
Well, we were talking about public school earlier. I thought maybe we were.
How often I text you, so I know I'm guilty. But was the phone just blowing up
last night?
Yeah,
a little bit.
I was watching real
Millard
time.
South
I
thing.
was confused.
Yeah, I was at Bellevue West, Lincoln Southwest after going to 2 softball games yesterday. So
Can we start with softball first?
Yeah.
How was it? I'm very mad at myself. I haven't seen one softball, not even Westside, and I like softball.
Well, all the teams are. All in Class A, it was basically chalk.
So I went. So I coached with Jernigan, a wrestling coach. He was a really, really good baseball player too.
Yeah.
And he was at softball the other day, and he said, "You know how you always used to talk about not being able to. You wondered if you could hit from 46 feet." And I was like, come on, because he was a good baseball player too. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. I'm like 46. It's tough.
It's hard.
Came to practice yesterday. He goes, yeah, I don't know if I could hit that. I was like, I'm trying to tell you.
Especially from Alexis Jensen.
Oh, it's wild. No, she's wild. I do know that.
She's unbelievable. So, softball's good. Gretna.
Could you hit a ball from 46.6?
No.
Depends on how fast it's coming.
Man, it's hard.
No, I know it's hard, but like slow pitch, I can do that. If it's coming at a certain velocity, there's gonna be a point where that's not happening anymore. But I could I know this has been a very long time, but I played in an adult baseball league.
Me too.
Not that long ago.
Listen, there was
like a real baseball league.
There was a deal in my former life. This wasn't that long ago, probably 7-8 years ago, where the gauntlet was thrown down of whether I could do it or not, and we never got it. We were going to do it for charity. And I was like
home run derby,
to see if I could hit
from 46.6.
For 46.6.
So my point is this was not that long ago. There was still a guy who had recently played minor league baseball in this league and still throwing in the high 80s. And I wasn't making great contact, but I was getting around on it. So it depends on how fast they're throwing for 46.
Maybe if I was 36, not 46.
I feel like I can make contact.
I don't
know about get a hit.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't.
Actually getting it in play is different.
I think it would be total guesswork.
Oh yeah,
and you'd be flailing. And
well, let me be clear. It'd have to be just fastballs. If you're throwing other stuff at me, no. If I'm taking BP from 46.6,
well, fudge. Even Volpe could be a good hitter with the Yankees if he was just getting fastballs.
Well, if you listen to Levi, he's raking. Volpe's his guy.
No, I'm Team Levi this morning.
No,
anytime you need to apologize for bad takes, I think I'm that person.
You were the one that was on the Yankees worse than I was.
No, I wasn't. I said I could see them winning the World Series or being bounced
But you were the one that said, "Hey, I think Kansas City's outplayed them."
They looked like the better team.
All I said,
but I did also tell you that the series price lets you know that the Yankees were still favored going into Game 3.
All I said about
it was in Kansas City.
All I said about the Yankees was over the course of the season, their lineup had basically been Judge, Soto, and a bunch of dudes.
Yeah,
which is true, by the way.
No, 100%.
All I said is they had one more good guy than the Royals did.
How about Cole touching 98 last night?
Yeah, that's surprising.
I didn't watch.
Apparently, for the velo to be done, it was back last night.
Got a little.
He looked like the GC of old.
He did. If that's who Garrett Cole is for the rest of the playoffs, watch out.
And then one of Bobby Witt's few hits that he had was the little flail job he had on that slider. I'm like, how did he hit that?
Yeah.
He just used, it was just good hands, right? He just guided out there.
Flick it. It's a little Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, I know.
I watched one baseball game the entire year, and that was part of the Royals-Yankees on Wednesday night.
So you didn't get a chance because you were obviously out
and about.
We in our elimination game where James Madison, who if all their good players are at Indiana and we're afraid of Indiana, how's JMU still good? Because they boat race Coastal.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I got a small school. I got a G5 guy next to me.
Oh.
I like G5s.
I know you do.
They're my guys.
I know.
You
root for the plucky underdogs.
Well, I do. I appreciate the plucky underdogs. You know,
Lincoln High.
Listen.
How was Coach Mackey? Was he good? I love.
He was
Coach.
good. So
I'm a Mackey guy.
Talk about the Millard South deal last night. So I called Coach Mackey on my way home from Bellevue West. I was like, okay, like I just wanted to know what was going. What's going.
How'd this happen?
Yeah. And he was very real, and same thing he told Chris Basnet. He said that at halftime they talked.
Yeah, he called Gats.
Yeah, talked to his AD, talked to Millard South AD and coaches, and both teams were kind of just okay with it ending because it wasn't like a player safety thing. It was like, hey, like participation numbers are down, and if like this happens, then we're gonna make it worse, and like if we score 100 points on us or something. Millard South ran 11 offensive plays last night.
Yeah, so what I was telling you real time was like Millard South wasn't. I didn't think that they were being malicious.
They weren't showboating
and running it up on offense. Because I think at that time I told you I was like it was three or four returns.
Yeah.
And that was 21 points right there.
So I mean,
because you said the kickoff, the punt, a pick six, and a scoop and score.
So a scoop score, the pick six, and Amarion hadn't even ran the 42-yarder back or the one to make it 42 yet.
So
he opened with a kick return.
You're talking about 4 touchdowns on non-offensive plays.
Yeah.
They ran 11 offensive plays and scored 62 points and a half.
So I'm curious, how was Strom? Because I love him.
He was same. Like it was. Yeah, it's a tough spot for both teams, frankly. Like, what do you do in that situation if you are Millard South?
He's a good dude.
You play your reserves, but your reserves are probably still going to, put up some points. So it's
a particularly deep team, too, right? Like, Millard South is a particularly deep team. So it's not like there's still going to be a talent gap.
Right.
Between
they've even lost a couple studs on defense with Teagan and Dylan.
Yeah, and I brought that up to Mackey too. I'm like, yeah, well, what if they play? He goes, they still would have. Like they're still better than their reserves are better. He goes, they have a great team.
And he's had some explosive teams before with Case and those guys.
Yeah, he knows what it looks like. Zion Perry, one of my favorite guys. I love that guy. He's awesome. So anyway, it happened. Now for Millard South, like. Does Benson?
I don't know why I don't
punt.
So do they just get will they get the points?
Because from that game last, there's a
no. I'm talking about next week with Benson.
Oh, if Benson doesn't, there's a rule, right? A forfeit rule, and part of that forfeit rule is the home team gets.
We talked about it last week
$1,000
with Southern Valley and.
Yeah. So like if a 6-man or 8-man team kind of gets this far, and it's happened, Banner County just did it, where they just kind of we're done for the season.
Mm-hmm.
Then the home team gets $1,000 because they
would
lose the gate or whatever.
Yeah.
It's an NSA bylaw now.
That's why I told you. I mean, I know you made fun of me for the snarky retweet of the storm cell, but. That gate's gonna pay for.
It's gonna be a lot.
No, I know.
A lot of stuff
I know the gates. I know the gates are important.
A lot of. I got your 6 get 1 T-shirt.
I don't. I didn't think you were. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I attributed different motives to DB here, who I don't know very well at all. When you tweet out, I didn't realize you were being so altruistic and just trying to help the gate.
That's DB, man. Altruistic.
You're here for kids. Yeah. You're here for the kids, and I appreciate that about you because I'm certainly not. But I thought maybe trying to motivate your own team with the little snarky comment there in the
just a simple retweet.
The storm cell versus versus Hollywood High and the recruiters.
Game's gonna be that game. I'm excited. I mean, that game won my game of the week. It made
How did they come back from 300 down?
A major comeback. There was 200. I check.
Mm-hmm.
Like randomly because my game of the week poll closes. on.
I'm ridiculously
Wednesdays
calm
at
for
noon.
what this game means to us personally, right?
Yeah.
Because this game had a lot of lead up going into the last year's finals and the live here, play here, and all, like.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Coach Rosenberg fan.
They have a great staff.
Well, some of those guys I used to work with.
They're like the oldest staff in
Coach Mack,
America.
Coach Drennan, like those are my dudes.
They are.
Coach Kerwin.
Great, though. Yeah, Kerwin's great. Like they're all great. They are like the oldest staff. And some of those
He
guys
didn't believe. He thought I was being facetious when I said my level of appreciation for the staff. I used to work with those guys.
I didn't think you were being facetious. I know like the level of respect you have for other coaches. So I bought that part of it. Now you're being facetious with the
and some of them worked with Coach Lamonji at Burke too. Like I mean, everybody's kind of friends.
I didn't even realize they called Westside the recruits in the tweet.
Yeah,
I was just trying to help the game.
I don't know what you're talking
definitely
about.
wasn't.
We just want to play.
Definitely
ball.
wasn't subtweeting my own players there, so they would see that or anything.
Just want to play ball, man.
Just helping out the gate for Elkhorn South. What a guy! What a guy! What a good guy!
Thank you. My AD appreciates it.
Anyway, to get to your answer, I think as far as how that game ended up overtaking Columbus, Lakeview, and SCOTUS for my game of the week in the fan vote poll thing. The last 2 hours, it kind of like when I went to Dave & Buster's the other day with my kids. It just lit on fire.
Was it kind of like when you beat me in the media personality thing?
Kind of.
With the heroic late comeback.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
I made some texts.
Did a little campaigning.
I may or may not have had.
God bless this dude.
I may or may not have had a guy, a parent text me, and then I may or may not have also been like, "Hey, administrator X, would you this is happening right now.
Let me ask you something."
And he's like, "We're on it." I'm like, "Okay."
Let me ask you something.
Sometimes you gotta ask for a favor.
Called in a song. My man calling in markers. Hey, listen. So the big game chain and you.
Yeah, we're both going to be
in addition to.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how you know it's a big one.
We talked about it, and we came up with a game plan to make it a little different for both of us.
I have what was your level of surprise at the Central Prep outcome last week? Which came down
a little surprised. Mm-hmm. I was a little surprised. Central is talented. I think we know that in spots. And I guess I thought Prep would maybe be able to kind of control them a little more.
I thought Coach I thought the interior did a pretty good job of bouncing back.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm biased because I like him as an O-line coach. But I thought they may have their hands full with Prep's front.
Right. And that's what I thought too. So, but hey, that was a huge win for Central. And now tonight in that district is another very huge win. Our game. It's Papillion La Vista and Central.
Okay, so is that for second or third?
Second.
Because Papio still can control their own destiny because they have us left.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. So whoever wins that game tonight is likely going to get the second or the
unless Prep upsets us. And,
the auto bid for second is where this plays out tonight. So, and that would mean Central probably needs it more, right? Because I think Papio is still going to be okay.
And Papio has the win over Prep already in district.
Yeah.
All right, Sautter.
So they're cheering like crazy for Prep next week.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, we got to get to the most important game.
Okay.
Kearney Millard North.
I don't know.
I'm surprised you're not rocking your Mustang gear.
I was.
Did you think about it?
I did. I thought about it.
It's also Kearney Millard North is also an extremely important game as far as district is.
So tell me about the district implications, and then tell me if we got a chance. That's what I need to know.
I'm looking up the district. I don't have it all memorized outside of District A6, but I know it because I just
It's Millard West.
Keep tracking Millard West.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me get to that in a second. Let me tell you this.
You're gonna laugh. I think this is one of Petey's best coaching jobs.
Yeah, Millard West is gonna win the district. They'll be 5-4 likely after starting 0-4, and they're gonna be a 12 seed. And you ain't gonna want to play them.
I know.
Like in the first round.
All right, listen. You gotta tell me.
Like that's not. I don't want to do that. Let's look here real fast. I know I used to be able to do this a lot quicker.
That's okay. Well, he's looking that up.
Yeah.
How do you think Millard North matches up with Kearney?
Kearney's pretty good defensively, so I think
it's kind of about what Schilke can kind of.
Well, I would move if I were them and he's capable. I would use him like we do CJ Christian, where I would move him around because Schilke is super disruptive.
Yeah.
And he's physical. And I think this might be I'm not Alan Burrell. I'm not Coach Burrell. But I think they got to keep the middle soft in the run game because their run game so far, when it hits, has been it's been edge run game.
Verghese,
so we would scheme that. I think they need to soften the belly.
Give some Bogats.
Bogat. He's a stud.
Dude, he's really good.
So yeah, Kearney, Millard North.
I like Bogats a lot.
Me too.
This is for the first place in the district, basically A3. So Kearney's 1-0 in the district. Millard North is 2-0 in the district. Yeah, this is basically for like.
And both of their only losses in state are to Millard South.
Yes, correct.
Because Millard North's other one's to Cherry Creek out in Denver.
Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've had similar seasons to this point. That's why I think
Millard North. If you want to do the whole transit property thing, Millard North maybe played Millard South a little better.
You said transit property. I stopped listening.
I know, but like if you,
especially with those two teams because emotions run so high.
Yeah, different. I also just don't. I mean, when you get your head beat in, I'm not really going to pay that much attention between.
So if you scored 14 or
10,
I
don't care at that point. Like Millard South was dramatically
Although
better
some
than
of these
both.
this year, points for, points against may matter.
Yeah. Sure, but I mean in terms of who I think is better.
No, I got you.
Right, like in terms of district, totally understand that, and you want to try and get as much as you can there. But like I saw a good chunk of that Millard North Millard South game, like on video. That was not in doubt.
I got a sneaky one for you because we just talked to Coach Lenhart, who interviews just like he coaches.
He's awesome.
I mean,
he is awesome.
But I'm telling you, I'm a fan, and he's significantly younger than me. I'm a huge
His
fan.
practice is the most efficient practice of anybody's. It's pretty efficient. They have 130 kids practicing at the same time.
How are they still Class B? Anyway,
from freshman to A.
Stop it. Knock it off. Let me ask. That's the game I want to talk about, though, because I don't know what to take away from Elkhorn North because of the quarterback play at North, right? But Elkhorn is pretty dialed. But Bennington's offense is getting better. How important is that one in the grand scheme of things?
It's a big game, obviously bigger for Elkhorn.
Because I know you think 3-3, and you're like,
no, they're
but Elkhorn's. I know, believe me. That schedule is like, wow.
Yeah. Well, their district is just crazy. Oh, you think your district's bad? Their district is Bennington, Scott, Elkhorn North, Elkhorn High, and Blair.
Oh, I know.
That's
Remember, I went
B1.
through. I went through Blair's
That's
schedule.
District B1. It's like what? That's a better district than 2 or 3 of the Class A districts.
Would you use multipliers along that thought before I let you get to your thing? Would you use multipliers?
I don't know. Something needs changed. Clearly, as far as how the classification systems and in the state. I don't know if multiplier is the answer. I'm not sure if the proposal that Stu wrote about from Fremont is the answer either.
Boy, he took it on the chin last night on social media.
Yeah, and 24 24 teams making the playoffs out of Class A has 32. I'm not a participation trophy person, and that feels like it to me. I'm out on 24 teams making the playoffs, even with 8 teams getting a bye or whatever. Okay, you not necessarily want to bye. So, especially at that time of the season, there should be, in my opinion, there should be a kind of like Arizona does it, where you opt into like the whatever Super League, if you want to call it, or I forget what the name of it's called, or maybe it's something like Oklahoma where they have 1A or 6A. And it's like 16 teams. And it's just those 16 teams play in like 1A or whatever it might be called. So 1A, 2A thing. Now, the problem is if you have another classification, that means along with 6-man, you're going to have 8 classes of state champions. We don't need 8 in Nebraska. Sorry. We just don't. That's too many.
Is there like a part of you that wants to see like Wahoo and Scott though?
Yeah, absolutely. That would be. I said earlier, Bennington and Wahoo this year. I would love to see that game.
Huh.
I think that would be an awesome game because both teams have athletes who can run and defenses are good and all that. I would love that. I do wish there was more of that, but it obviously doesn't happen. School size is probably not the answer anymore. So something needs to definitely change. I don't have all the answers on that.
We'll be back with more Mike Sautter here on Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
We will be back. 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 You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio.
Welcome back to Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla, Mike Sautter here with us as well. It is time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. Every Saturday in the month of October, get out to the casino in Omaha and get in for your chance to win $10,000 cash money at 10:30 p.m. every Saturday of the month, and from 6 to 10 p.m. as well. They're going to draw for $500 in free slot play every 30 minutes. I'm not great at math, but I think that's like 8 winners a night.
Yeah, I don't even know.
That's a lot of winners. We like winners.
Well, you know.
And we like Warhorse Casino. Make sure you go check them out, warhorsecasino.com for more info. DB.
Yes, sir.
We got some games this weekend.
Yes, we do.
You want to start NFL or college?
Well,
you know.
You didn't thank me for the gimme last night.
Because I didn't feel good about it. I'm just going to be honest with you.
Too close to it?
So I first of all, I never bet on teams I like.
That's smart.
Because I get too emotional. This is why when...
Hey, can you move your Costanza wall? It's messing up the table.
Oh, my God.
My bad,
bro.
I got a lot of stuff.
That's a book.
Got a lot of stuff.
Can I touch your wallet?
I don't care. Just don't take any money out of it.
Look at this thing.
That thing's like a mini Bible. Yeah, that looks like Exodus. Right
It's
there.
like you're walking around with that little New Testament in your pocket.
I did go to Bible college. No.
Wow.
I know. It's probably not great for my back.
Holy crap, man.
I got a lot of stuff, man.
You sit on that?
That looks like the cross section of a club
Is that
sandwich.
The way
you put it in your front pocket?
No, so the way my back pockets work on most of my pants, I can get it off to the side, like on the hip almost. So it's in the back pocket, but I'm not
you
sitting
have
on
an
it.
indention in your booty if you sit on that.
This dude said booty.
Not if you do those squats, man. Those muscles
could have
keep
said
the
something
indentions
else.
out.
Stop it.
What else could you have said, Mike?
Really? You know he's chomping at the bit. He's got a
I
potty
almost.
mouth.
Okay.
No, so last night, A, I'm too close to it. B, I also just didn't ever feel good about how that felt like another one of the games that 49ers were going to blow a lead on the whole time.
Yeah,
you're sitting there, it goes 24-3. They immediately get the kickoff return.
I'm texting back and forth with my buddy Brian last night, and he's in Lincoln, and he's old school, diehard 49ers guy. Like, he's like, this is what we do. We just trick it off late. We just trick it off. Like, he was like speaking it into existence. I was like, nah, man, you'll be all right. Like,
I felt
apparently Geno Smith has returned to the mean.
I felt good for about.
He was your guy. And you're like, we have that guy, and he sucked. That's what you were thinking as a Jets fan.
Sam Darnold, same thing.
To be fair, though,
MVP.
Even guys that were good before they got to New York now suck now they're with the Jets. So it might be a you problem.
I'm done talking about the Jets.
It might be a you problem.
This week has been rough on the Jets.
Yeah. How you feel about your owner right now?
Not great. Really not good.
So what exactly? So we're going to have a little Office Space moment with Nathaniel Hackett here. What is it you say you do here?
Well, he's not the offensive coordinator. He's still the offensive coordinator, but not the play caller, and he got demoted.
I'm going to need you to come in on Saturday.
About that.
What do you think his TPS reports look like?
Can I tell you my biggest fear?
Whatever Aaron says?
Yeah, say, what would what would Aaron do?
I had two major fears when that went down, like right away on Tuesday when I was in Sioux Falls. And
by the way, did you realize my Underdog Sports broke that first? That's why I text you. I could text you guys before it. And it actually,
I was like,
they break the news first. I'm telling you.
What the?
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
Timing wasn't great. Anyway, my worst fear was, okay, who do they elevate or what happens? Who's going to be the coach?
Was your worst fear that was going to be Hackett?
Yeah.
Hey, my man Travis said, this week was your bad week to be a Jets fan. And that's typical Travis, too. Like, that dude is, I think the S stands for snark.
I like Travis.
I know. I know.
Hey,
stop.
We win on Monday. We're in first place.
in the worst division in football. Congratulations.
Which before the season.
That is so Travis.
Also, I thought Bill Belichick was going to be the dude.
No, they don't bring in those guys. This ain't college and Barry Alvarez as an AD.
I've said things about Bill Belichick that would put me in jail. So I don't know how I would be able to do that. Anyway, all right, back to gambling, betting.
Let's do some. You want NFL or college first?
Let's do NFL.
All right, I've got 3 games I'm interested in.
Okay.
All right, they are Commanders, Ravens.
Oh, same ones on the rundown.
Yeah, those are my 3. Commanders, Ravens.
Well, sometimes so he gets wild hair sometimes.
I do.
That's why it's a rundown.
I do.
Oh, you have no idea. That joker is like a loose outline.
It's not even a loose outline. It's literally the only reason the rundown exists is if Zoe gets sick in the morning and I have to do a show by myself. That is why I have a rundown.
So it's his fault.
No. That's just how we do the show. I'm not blaming him.
Wow.
It just, I like the.
Yeah, Ravi, you don't get this life without me in it.
Listen, I signed up for this twice. I like the organic nature of the show, but I'm also aware, like, hey, you
guys are the ones that wanted me back.
That's why I said I signed up for this twice. I like, but the rundown literally exists in case you get in a car accident or Zoe gets sick.
Oh wow,
that's the only reason the rundown. I have anxiety.
A little morbid, isn't it?
Listen,
that's a little.
I'm a worst case scenario preparer.
No, I like
that's what I do.
Someone that doesn't like kids.
I don't.
Pretty.
What does that have to do with it?
Trying to get the correlation?
I don't understand.
Commanders and Ravens.
Commanders and Ravens. I like the Ravens.
Are 6.5 point favorites.
Lay
the Ravens.
Lay it.
You're laying the points of the Ravens?
Lay it.
Pea pound them.
Yep.
I kind of just want to take the over.
Well, that's fine, but lay it.
51.5.
It's big. It's big for a reason.
Yeah.
And see what's happening with Baltimore is they're getting by with just being kind of good, but they're still
a lot left.
Do you feel like like Lamar Jackson is going to be like, man, I'm sick of everybody talking about this dude being the next me?
And I like the fact that Daniels at least gave that a little pushback.
Yeah.
He's like, hey, man, relax.
Different. Yeah.
Relax. But lay it. I'd lay the 7.
Yeah.
It's in Baltimore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm staying away from the line. I want the over.
Okay.
Because this is a shootout for me.
Yeah.
But if I had to lean, I would go Ravens. Lions versus Cowboys. Let me find the number here. I don't think I like it.
A lot of points.
Yeah.
Is it?
I don't know what the number is.
It's Detroit -3.
But what's the?
It is 52.5 over.
Yeah, that's high.
So first of all, you talk about Ricola.
That stinks to high heavens.
Stinks.
Yeah.
Stinks.
We don't like it.
No. But this is what I'm trying to figure out. Is it because Dallas is such a publicly backed team?
Because you think it should be Detroit by more.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So if like at first blush, how would Dallas and that defense slow even remotely slow
I
Detroit
don't
down?
see that.
I don't see it. I really don't.
That's why I said it's a lot of points.
Also, low key, Cowboys are 0-2 at home this year.
Oh, I know. But I'm telling you, I would back Dallas here because of one thing.
What's that?
Dak Prescott.
Yeah, Dak has been killing it, actually.
Dak is one of those guys. He's so underappreciated in this regard. And I get he laid the egg in the playoffs. He's pretty good at staying composed, just keeping on.
Yep.
He's pretty
unflappable.
He's pretty steadfast.
Yeah.
I like Dak in this spot. I would play the Cowboys.
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna bail out again and go over 52.5. Give me the points.
So what are we doing the segment for?
Because those are still gambling.
Oh, okay.
If I had to pick, though, I'm taking Detroit on the line.
That's a good point.
I'll take Detroit -3 if I have to. Broncos and Chargers is my last one in the NFL. Chargers -3.
It's gonna be
35.5 over.
Coming off a bye, correct? I will play Los Angeles.
I want the Chargers -3.
It's gonna be about 4-0.
Yeah, and I think Los Angeles is going to settle in defensively. They're starting to get healthy.
I'll take my chances.
Sands, whatever's going on with Bosa.
I'll take my chances with Jim Harbaugh in this type of game.
Yeah.
Give me the Chargers -3. I'm staying away from that 35.5 over under. Although I would take the under.
They are.
The Broncos D is legit.
I wonder if they have the option to bring back those old unis again.
I love those. Just switch back, baby. Those are beautiful.
They need the big D in the end zone, though. With the Bronco in it.
Yeah.
Whatever they were doing last
What do you
week
know about the Big D?
In the end zone. Rapid fire here, college football.
I do have 2 kids.
Texas.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about football, man. I don't know. Texas minus 14.5 against Oklahoma. Rapid fire. Let's go.
Talk about a tough hang.
Texas,
I'm sorry,
Oklahoma?
what'd you say?
Texas minus 14.5 against Oklahoma.
Give me
Too much.
Texas.
Tennessee minus 16 Florida.
Give me Florida.
Ole Miss minus 3.5 LSU.
LSU. At night in Baton Rouge.
Give me Ole Miss.
Penn State minus 3.5 USC.
USC.
I'll take the Trojans.
All right. Ohio State minus 3 Oregon.
Oregon.
Give me Ohio State.
Last but not least, Kansas State minus 3.5 Colorado.
Give me Colorado.
I think I'm taking the Buffs.
Yeah.
I think I am. That is Bet On It, brought to you by War Horse Sportsbook. We'll be back with Matt Vrzal coming up next here on Hurrdat Sports Radio.
We will be back. We will be back. We will be back. You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Radio. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at, telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How does that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Wrapping up the show here on a Friday on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. Mike Sautter here with us as well. We're joined now by Matt Vrzal, owner of Pison's Pizzeria, former Husker. What's up, Verz?
What's up, boys?
Hey, so why are you in the stream today, buddy? You want us to see that sweet mustache you got going?
It is awesome, but no, I've told Shaner we can do it this way. Just now, I had time to get it set up this morning.
Are you in the office?
I am in the office. Yes.
That is the greatest hiding spot in America.
Ooh, wait till you see the new one. I got a new one. I'm moving here, hopefully shortly. My internet guy was supposed to move the internet over there this week, but he is slacking. So,
internet guy,
you got to
move the internet.
Wait a minute. How do you move? What do you mean?
He's got some way to get me internet in this new bay that we got, but he has yet to show up. So,
is that the one right next to you on the west?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
What are you trying to monopolize the whole thing, or like
he is the owner?
You mind your business.
Mind your business.
Wow. Okay.
And why don't you answer a text? Because I had to call Jenny and bother her when I wanted to bother you.
So full disclosure.
Wow. Can you text me, please, when you have time?
Hey, he gave me the other day with his hand, even when I tried to I was
talk over me. Yeah, I did.
No, I was. My kids were trying to talk to you, and I was trying to correct them, and you're like, they're talking. I was like,
okay,
all right, big dog.
Oh, all right,
just sit here.
I see what this dude is on this morning.
I can see the frustration.
Okay.
On the phone, I have to guess.
So
he literally. Are we just gonna act like this dude didn't go 5-6-year-old and go ooh, like, is that what I sounded like, Matt?
It did, yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right.
You know when I do nice things for you. You know when I do nice things for you, I'm gonna do this. So.
Okay.
Me driving wings over to you has its consequences.
Oh man, I had those wings on Wednesday night. They're my favorite thing.
I was gonna eat my hand off that.
They're so good.
Okay.
I still haven't had the wings.
Hey,
they're so good.
Can I ask one question without you being acting like I'm looking a gift horse in the mouth though?
You bet.
How can I get those just a smidge crispier?
You have to drive in and here's the thing.
All
you crispy, listen to me.
Okay.
All you crispy people out there, you don't understand. We are putting things into a 750-degree oven.
Okay.
So crispy to burnt is a matter of seconds. So if you don't like the way I provide them to you, then you can show up there and then we will put them back in the oven. And then when they burn, you're still paying for them. Because our hands are clean. Our hands are clean. We did it correctly. And now you want it done further than correctly. Like if you ever watch during dinner, the boys will like if somebody says, I would like it crispy. Take the pizza out of the oven on the pizza peel and they walk it to the table and they're like, you good with this? And the people are like, yeah or nay. I'm like, okay, it's on you. This is our completed product. So if it goes back in there and we bring it out and it's burnt, you're still paying.
I feel like you're putting that on me. I even asked for permission.
Oh no,
I was like, hey, is this cool if I ask? And you're like, oh, hey, go ahead. I'm gonna whack you anyway.
I get it.
I ate them. I ate 13 in the sitting. I'm good. I just wanted to know.
So my good buddy John Dooley, his dad Mike, and I understand people want crispy. I really do. But we're dealing with the volatile thing of putting something back into a very hot oven.
Mm-hmm.
But he got burned like early in life on somebody that undercooked something.
Yeah.
And he like his or Terry Keneally. We will do Keneally crispy on a pizza. We know what Keneally crispy is. And You take the pizza, you cook it, you stand it on end. If nothing moves, then that's good. Terry's good. Like he likes them done, too far done. We get it. Somebody hurt you. It was not us. We did not hurt you. We will do it your way.
Jeez.
Tell us where the bad man messed up your pizza. That's what we're doing.
I do appreciate that.
I've been a psychologist a lot in my life.
Yeah, listen, I'm a full-fledged adult. Foil and vacuum sealers are like God's greatest gift to me. Like I like practical. The foil, home run, Maddie. Thank you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Wow. Can I get to? I just
set it up?
He went for the butter, and now he's going for the jam.
Hey, thank you for that. You're a great
No,
friend.
but
can I?
I clearly know what I'm dealing with this morning, so it's fine. I'm gonna move on.
What we got?
I still
fire away.
I still think it's the goofball mustache. It makes you look like a frowny face. But anyway.
No, this thing is awesome. Do you know how many compliments I get on this?
Somebody's not telling you the truth.
My wife said it looked great. I was like,
I actually think it's a good look for Verse.
Well, you guys are both not. Well,
I mean,
I almost posted the Joe Piscopo, Eddie Murphy, Ebony and Ivory on your.
Do you know who wouldn't like that of those two? Eddie Murphy.
I couldn't remember.
These two like it. Do you know who wouldn't? Eddie Murphy. Do with that what you will.
This is the world we live in. I had to think back. I was like, has Joe Piscopo fallen into the racist category? If I post this, people are gonna be like, "Oh, he's doing this because he's racist."
Have you seen the Detroit Tigers? I don't know what they're doing, but apparently you're on their hype train too, because those mustaches.
Oh yeah,
it's like okay, but anyway,
winners do. They would grow mustaches.
Can we talk about scheming big run plays versus that doesn't even exist, and how explosive plays in the run game take all 11 guys, not just the 5 linemen?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Can we talk about that for a second?
So, okay, number one, you have to call the run play. That's always helpful. Like when you get that called. But the big thing, like when you're trying to scheme or you're trying to figure out how you want to do this, you've got to find, you've got to take and channel your best water boy. And when you watch film, like who is the one that freelances or who is the one that gets out of scheme? Okay. Or who's the one that sucks? And then you game plan it at them. And now you figure, how can I get one of my better blockers to them to create space? Like, and it's a ton of film study. And the good part about it, when you're kind of like a whole cohesive unit and it's all going, your players will find it as they watch film.
How much, Manny? How much more difficult?
This guy.
I'm sorry, babe. How much more difficult do you think it is that you can't like cut guys outside the box on, like we could do out on the perimeter and backside and stuff? You think that's kind of changed the explosive play thing? Because you still get them, they're just harder to come by.
No, because if you're okay, linemen will be responsible for the first 10 yards. Tight ends in that will be responsible for the next 2 or 3, and we can lump them with linemen. Receivers and other players bust the play, right? But you still can get the work in. It's just different work. Like, yes, you can't cut outside the box. Okay, whatever. You now have to be better with your feet, better with your hands, better with understanding leverage. Like if I was going to take receivers, and the thing that I would teach them as they're blocking in space is once you're inside in the steering wheel, right? Once I've got the inside part of the armpits of your pads, the minute he turns to reach or lessens pressure, right? So if he turns to reach, I immediately extend that arm. Whatever direction he reached, I extend because he has had to relax other parts of his body to reach. So once he reaches, now he's out of balance, I shove, we're good. If he tries to backpedal, and you can feel it when you have a hold of him. But if he starts to release backwards, I immediately sprint because now he's in a retreating position and I attack him and dump it.
You know, DBs are now taught to draw those blocking in the back calls now too, right? Where they kind of go limp shoulder and they lean into those receivers, and it looks as though, I mean, receivers literally have to put their hands up for you to not call that. Now it's like it's kind of dicey out there on the perimeter.
Yeah, it is. It's just the way the game's adjusted. I mean, you got to deal with it. And listen, if you think that the way to combat that, if you're squared up, dead center middle, it don't matter. You can flop wherever you want. If you're off to the side or you're not, your feet slow, it's going to cause you a problem.
So you're basically, if you're a perimeter blocker, you're waiting for whoever that is, whether it's safety corner.
You ain't waiting. Go attack.
Go.
When you wait and try to react,
you're gonna miss.
There, in your world, basketball, right? Do you wait to get in front of somebody to draw a charge?
No, you're setting up early, right?
So you sprint over there and you flop, just like everybody in basketball does. Dumbest sport.
So waiting was the wrong word. You're
someone's asking for permission to ask a question too. I mean,
you're reading.
Not going to be allowed to write this morning.
You're trying to read when they give up their base. That's basically what you're saying, though. When they're reaching or when they're backpedaling or whatever, you're reading for them to give up their base so that you have the leverage advantage. Am I understanding that right?
Correct. You want to get squared up dead center, and everybody wants to watch this or they want to watch this. You watch sternum. You can shake everything but your sternum. You cannot juke me if I'm staring at your sternum. It's not possible.
I mean, going back to basketball, we used to say belly button, right? I'd stare at somebody's belly button because it's not going anywhere.
Too close to the hips, baby. Them hips don't lie. Shakira, I told you that.
Wow. Maddie Shakira Vrzal.
You're telling me the hips do lie a little bit.
Did you change your middle name?
Listen, I would risk it all for Shakira.
Shakira or Adele?
Shakira.
You know he's closet hood. He ain't playing it safe.
Matt.
Plus Adele apparently likes brothers, Matt. She don't
Adele's
like
too happy with her current guy. She's smiling all the time.
Not writing any more hits though, which is happy.
Hey, they got to after his marriage. She retired. He's retired too.
Wow.
Birds, we
on that permanent plan. He married a doctor.
It's the best retirement plan there is. Verse Mary Rich.
That's what I'm trying to do. It's not gone very well thus far.
First, you know all those scut people.
No, they're all married though. I got no single friends. I got to MC the event. I got to MC Angel Flight on Saturday. I told one guy, I was like, "Hey, is there gonna be any single here?" I was like, "I'm gonna be tuxed up. I'm gonna be looking good. It's about as good as you can polish this turd."
Birds, we appreciate it as always. Have a good weekend, buddy.
See ya, boys.
That's Hurrdat Sports Radio for the day. We'll be back next week, probably. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. That's Mike Sautter. We'll be back on Monday.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.